I think this is the first episode we've ever had where we had like basically an episode before we did the episode. Alicia, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is an honor. You are, and I'm sure you get this a lot. Before we even go back to that, I want to ask one thing. Are you self-aware of your fame?
I hate the word fame, but yes, I'm aware of. I believe that I am recognizable. I was recognizable because I had a very distinctive look. I think fame is like Eminem. Even if you don't listen to rap, you know who Eminem is. Like, I wouldn't call it fame. It's like now everybody's famous because you have 200,000 followers on Instagram. You're famous. Are you really though? Because I don't fucking know who you are. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
The only censorship we have, to my knowledge, is like YouTube censorship. So like corn instead of the other word.
Okay.
Can't say the hard R. There's a...
Okay, well, I wasn't planning on doing that. But.
Well, one in Rome.
You never know.
No, you're not censored at all.
Okay.
Say whatever you want to say. The only thing I'm going to ask is if it's not safe for YouTube, please don't.
Okay.
But if you do, I mean, this is
You're
all...
just going to have to...
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
No,
Okay, so where were we at? Oh, yeah. So,
your
like,
fame.
Yeah, I take that with a grain of salt. I think that I don't like that word. I am aware of, like, that at some point I was, like, number 8 on Cornhub. You know.
Seriously?
I was, yeah, for a minute there. But also, like, people's attention span is very quick, you know, and like, I quit years ago. And so, I mean, people don't seem to have realized that I quit because, like, new stuff still comes out that, like, just companies have been holding on to for years. So, but, and, like...
Wait a second. They have content of you that they have not, like...
Right.
So you shot
there
it,
was something
it was
that
produced...
came out, like, a fucking week ago that I shot probably 3 years ago.
No shit.
More actually than that, yeah.
Forgive me because I'm a little bit ignorant to this. Like, so then how is payment done? Is it like in one moment, like you're going to get paid this for this?
We get a day rate.
No, like
royalties,
additional.
Yeah, none of that.
Damn.
Yeah, so that's
those guys know what they're doing.
That's why that's why OnlyFans became what it did, I think, because then the girls are making content that they own, and then they're can consistently make money off that same content.
The very first guest I ever had on was a girl by the name of Whitney McAllister,
okay.
and that's what she did. She just did OnlyFans.
Okay.
But I think it would shock people to see the revenue that she was getting. Yeah. Even I was shocked. After the episode, I was like, Whitney, I never do this. I want to see this. Like, I want to see the receipts. She opened up the app. Yeah. She showed it to me, and my jaw dropped. I was like, I'm paying for dinner. What the fuck? You know what I mean? I guess what I'm trying to say is one thing that shocked me was just the sheer size of that market. Everybody says sex sells, and duly noted. I guess I was just shocked at like how much it sells.
So the funny thing is that, like, she, having never done professional corn, I hate that fucking term, whatever.
Well, you know what?
Having not done that professionally, she probably makes a lot more money than anybody who actually shot professionally, because people want to see something that they haven't seen before. They've already seen everything there's to see about me, you know. So whatever I'm doing, like, I have like diehard fans that have been on my OnlyFans for like 10 years.
God bless.
Yes. Thank you guys. To all of
you. Thank you, gentlemen and women.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's like, if I'm not coming up with new stuff or there's not anything new to see, like, men want to watch some girl that just turned 18 and, like, you know, that they think that she's somebody they could see at the supermarket, and that's more interesting, I think, because the corn industry has become as big as it is. It's like everybody knows how fake it is.
I think you're absolutely right when you were talking about like how everybody wants to see something they haven't seen before or see some more of someone. I think it was, I don't know if you're particular with some of these people, but like there was a streamer named Amaranth who did like Twitch streaming. Mm-hmm. And she was like one of the more lewd streamers, you know, push-up bra, these things, all the bells and whistles, right? And then she moved to OnlyFans, and I think in like 1 month, she cleared like millions of dollars. And I remember I was reading that I was on Yahoo Finance, and this was like the top thing on Yahoo Finance, not some stock. It was like Amaranth makes an OnlyFans. And I remember thinking to myself, this is how you know this shit is massive. Yeah. Because like I wasn't even looking for this kind of content, yet it's like kind of, it's so big, it's become bigger than what it originally is.
So I had originally done like, my Instagram just got big, like for whatever reason. I don't know. I wasn't anybody, but like my ex-husband would like wanted me to help like promote his products or whatever. So he'd like have me like holding his like vape pen or whatever in a fucking bikini. And so, which is really embarrassing to me now. But anyway, so like my Instagram was already big, and then like everyone was like, make a Snapchat. And I was like, I didn't even know what the fuck Snapchat is. But
what year? Forgive me. What year are we talking?
This was like 2014, 2015.
Oh, dude, Snapchat was like new.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was like the premium Snapchat thing at the time, and it's like, so the first day that I did that, I made more money than I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, I was homeless for 5 years, so that's not saying that much, but I made so much fucking money that day. I was like, okay, I guess I do this now, you know, like, why the fuck do I work, you know?
Was that a culture shock to you, that the amount of money that you could make? It was
insane.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I don't want to, going forward in this conversation, I don't care the number.
Yeah.
More the thought behind it.
Yeah, well,
Forgive me.
to me, yeah. I mean, to me, the number was astronomical. To somebody else, I don't know. It's still high for a day. If I had made that every day, I would make over $1 million.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, but this was also like Snapchat. But it was like, I feel like I was so much more successful before I joined the industry because I was like just some girl. And that's more interesting to people. It's like people try to find the reality stuff, you know, because it seems more authentic. So like some girl on Snapchat that they've been following on Instagram for however long, that's more interesting to them than like whoever, so-and-so who's a big name that you know that.
Do you think it's authenticity, or do you think it's proximity to intimacy? Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys, thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second, I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show. Because I think it's both. I think men, they try to say that it's just physical, and I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, so having worked lots of conventions, and no offense to my creepy fans, but some of y'all are creepy as hell.
All the creepy fans are like, duly noted.
Yeah, no, but like, because they've seen me do all these things, or they even like, what is it called? I can't even think. VR stuff. Like, it's super personal, the virtual reality stuff. I've never actually seen any of it, but I had a friend of mine tell me, like, I'm pretty sure if you knew what it's actually like, that you wouldn't be comfortable shooting it.
Because it allows for what, such like pseudo-intimacy?
They literally like see you on their body.
You know? Wow.
Yeah, so it's like.
The future is now.
Yeah. But so the problem is, they've seen like whatever podcasts or interviews I've done. And so they know all this stuff about me. And I've always been very vocal on Twitter. I just like the word vomit and say whatever the fuck I think.
I feel like that is all of Twitter.
Yes. I mean, I still do that on Twitter to some extent. But so I feel like people, they feel like they have some kind of intimate relationship with me. Problem is, I've never met you before. I don't fucking know anything about you. I never had a VR of you sitting on my lap. So it creates this imbalance, and then they come up and like they're thinking that like
they're close.
Yes,
Alicia, you know me. I've known you.
They think it's all right to just like grab my tits.
Wow. Yeah. Bold. Okay.
I have punched a lot of people.
Well, that's okay. Okay. I was about to ask a question, but that's a little overboard. I was going to ask, like, do you think that kind of that schism between like the intimacy that they had felt with you, or I hate to say it this way, but the pseudo-intimacy, because it wasn't real, right? It was very one-sided. I have so many questions about like the macro side of it, but let's keep it to you for right now. Okay. Do you feel like these interactions with people that you call creepy, is it because the individual had that disconnection between how they felt about you and assuming that this was some sort of reciprocal relationship?
That's what makes it creepy, because I don't know how far that runs. Like, there's also like, so if you search like my name on Instagram, there's like hundreds of pages of like fake accounts. And I'll get people like messaging me like, I mean, they're commenting on my Instagram like, I can't believe you're cheating on me with this guy that happens to be my husband, you know, and like that we supposedly are in some kind of relationship, and they sent me a bunch of money for like, and this is like, they're talking to some Indian dude, you know, that's posting pictures of me, and like now they think I owe them money, and I'm like, I'm fucking reimbursing you because you're an idiot. Like, I'm sorry. Why? Yes, I have a secret profile that's like Karma RX 1 2 3 4 5
specifically
private.
For you.
Yeah, like that's totally me. Like, you know, and so but it's weird. So some of these people actually think that we're in a relationship, and that at least is even more. That's more understandable because they did think they were talking to me. I've had somebody's wife like messaging me like through my soap company, like I've know all about you and my husband, like all this stuff, and I was like, lady, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but like,
what are you talking
I'm like,
about?
your marriage has been ruined by somebody that wasn't even me.
Yeah.
By some dude that's pretending to be me. So I'm very sorry, and you should just leave him.
Let me
But it wasn't even me talking to him.
Let me ask you this: do you think that the body of work that you've done in that industry has it benefited people more, or has it hindered people more?
So
it's kind of a loaded question. Yeah. Forgive me.
So this has been like over the years something that's changed for me. So like when I first started, I didn't see any of the negative consequences like to society in general. All people talk about is like, oh, that's gonna hurt you psychologically or whatever, like being in that industry that like it's toxic or whatever. But I never had any thoughts about like what my actions are having on the world at large. Or more so, I didn't feel responsible for them. Like just because I make a video and you take it as it's okay somebody, like that's not on me. However, the older I grew up and the more shit that I seen, I started to question that. And I believe that I still don't think it's my fault that somebody else does something wrong, or that somebody else has an addiction. It's not alcohol's fault that you're an alcoholic, right? No. I don't mean you specifically, but it's not.
We said that off the record.
It's not my fault that somebody has a porn addiction. However, to act like I'm not contributing to something that I now believe is harmful is not true. Now I again, like, so the other thing, like, I don't ever want to become one of these people who quits and then like becomes all anti and talks all this crap about an industry that gave me everything that I have. And I'm not anti the industry. It's more that like, I don't even, okay, from like a Christian standpoint, it's wrong, period. I personally felt more like it's like the industry isn't what hurt me, society is. Like we think we're in this progressive society, we're not. So the way that I was treated, and I don't mean to like make this sound like a pity thing because I made my bed and I've been laying it for 10 fucking years. But I like one time I went to go buy a car. I went to an Audi dealership. I had like $40,000 in cash on me to buy a fucking car. The guy knew who I was. He like tried to like pay me to suck his dick. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not buying a fucking car, but it's like, it didn't even occur to him that he would lose his job because they don't even see you as a human being. Like I'm not a human.
Yeah. Can I respond to that though? So while I am just a piece of anecdotal evidence, compared to the multitude of anecdotal evidence that you've already witnessed firsthand, I don't think that is a reflection of you, your lifestyle, your choices. It is 100% a reflection of him. And I'm not trying to white knight. Right. I'm not trying to do any of these things.
But that's what I'm saying, that it's society that like...
But no. But it's not, though, because I'm a guy. I live in this society, and I'm not fucking asking some girl to give me a BJ just because she does porn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's like one example. The other one, okay, I had quit maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I quit for a year and a half. I moved to the other side of the country. I like got my real estate license in 2 different states. I was like trying to do all this stuff. I worked for, I will say the name of that company because fuck them, but I worked for Keller Williams for all of 1 month. And then I guess somebody anonymously called in and told them like that I was an adult actress or some bullshit. And they fired me. And fuck, after I had spent $10,000 on like all their marketing shit and all this, like, and I had like, moved across the country, like changed my life, changed the way I look, like bought different clothes, like everything, like trying to live a better life. And the reasoning that they had was that this is a Christian company and your past doesn't align with our morals.
Didn't that come out in the background check?
Well, it's not a fucking background. It's not illegal. And it wasn't a question on the application. It's like, they're like, well, why didn't you tell us? Like, why would I fucking tell you that? Like, hey, by the way, like, I'd like to work here, but I used to suck dick for a living. Like, like that didn't seem like a pertinent information. But the fact that they tried to say that this is a Christian company and that's why me trying to change my life is not welcome, I was like, well, that's about the least Christian thing I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah.
Just so you know that
that's a good way to look at it.
It was me trying to change my life, and you said no, go back to porn. We don't want you. And so it's like society is like, change, like, but not in my backyard. Like, It's the same with drug addicts. It's like, yeah, get clean, but I don't want to fucking help you. Or homeless people. Homeless people need to be helped, but nobody's moving them into their fucking house.
Well, okay, let me take a step back because you said a lot, and I think
I can go on a
no,
rant.
no, Alicia, I love this shit. Let me just kind of tackle it like one segment at a time. Let's first start with most recent, work our way back. So with regards to like truly helping people, I think that you are correct in the hypocrisy of the masses, where a lot of times people with means will say certain things because it seems to be the progressive thing to say or the correct thought to have. Like, yes, I want to help homeless people, but you know, the HOA of that community will be the first person that tells you like, we don't want to build low income housing in our neighborhood because it's going to diminish the value of our real estate. Okay, fine. But then don't fucking sit there on Instagram and be like, these people need homes. Or specifically with regards to Christianity, we said this before and I'll say it on the record as well. Religion a lot of times gets an easy access to the word hypocrisy because it is by the same side, or sorry, the opposite side of the same sword. So like on one side of that blade, you have like, I am a creature of sin. I am, you know, flawed by design, and from birth, I will never be perfect. And in the beauty of religion, it is the one way that we can find redemption, true prosperity, and happiness outside of this mortal coil. So it's like, does this, the duality of the situation, does it lead to hypocrisy? Someone that preaches something, but then lives a certain way? Absolutely.
I think very often. I would say more often than not.
But I would still rather live in that world where the person is allowed to be a hypocrite and religion still exists than what everybody is just chasing the dollar.
Think about it, if I owned a real estate company and I found out some girl like worked in the industry or whatever, and like, I wouldn't fire her personally, but I can kind of understand, like, they don't know who I am. They don't know anything about me. A lot of the girls in the industry are fucking psychos, and they would be like trying to suck their clients' dicks for a, you know.
Can I say something that sounds super ignorant?
Yes.
If I'm the manager of that company or business or whatever,
I would make them a lot of money.
How many houses did you sell?
I sold a house in the first month that I was doing real estate, which is like almost unheard of. Well, actually, 2.
Holla.
Yeah, but I think I could have done pretty well. I'm glad it didn't work out because I have too much stress to be in that that is too high stress of a job for me. So I am glad in retrospect, but it broke my heart at the time, and I had to end up going back to working. And I had moved to the other side of the country. So
Can we take a step? Sorry. Let's take a step back. So there was a moment in time where you were trying to leave the industry, trying to sell real estate and get into the real estate.
I started that soap company in that time.
Yes. And then you were like, okay, this is going to be my exodus from this past life to this new life. And then right when you thought, 3-4 weeks in, you're like, okay, smooth sailings. I already sold a house. This is going to be my new life. Boom. The email came down. Alicia, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, and it was like I had just bought myself a house. I bought my mother a house. The amount of bills that I had were not something I could just go work at McDonald's. I'm not going to unhouse my mother. I've been supporting her for a long time now. I'm not going to just stop doing that. And especially at the time, and I was not in any way religious then, but I mean, still, like I would sacrifice for my family. Like that's just something that I would do.
God bless.
Even if that, like, if I got a sin to like keep my mom off the street, like I would fucking do it. Like whether that's right or wrong, like, I've had people tell me that's not right.
But this is where I was going to get
the Bible also says we're supposed to take care of our parents.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's do you feel like I'm not trying to get too religious on you here, but okay, I'm just going to ask the question and people might get angry. So
I'm going to get angry no matter what.
Fair, very
especially
fair.
with me on here. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, they're gonna be talking shit.
That's fine.
Nobody wants to hear a corn star talk about religion.
Well, there's a lot of other hypocrites that do.
Well, I know, but
So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, by one stretch of this anecdotal piece of evidence that we're discussing right now, it's like, religion preaches acceptance for one another, to take on the responsibility, the duties of whatever it is that life throws at us in a moral way. Right. How do we kind of justify those morals? Well, through the book, through the word of God, right? So it's like, is there sin? Yes. But what is like one of the core tenets of the Bible? He without sin cast the first stone. Right. Well, I'm not without sin. Right. I'm not going to fucking cast my stone. Right. So do you think that sometimes people can mean well, but have to do certain acts in order to get to that end goal of quote unquote meaning well?
You mean like in my
your
situation.
personal situation could be one, but I mean, okay, let me put it this way. I'm not supposed to kill, right?
Right.
But if I sign my name off to the military and I go over to the Middle East and
Right, or if you walk in on some dude a child, like,
what are we going to do?
yeah, is that the wrong
There
thing to
are
do?
things
No,
that
the
I'm
right
not
thing
supposed to
is
do.
to kill the person. I'm sorry. That just, I mean, I think the Bible actually validates that. There's a whole passage about that people should rather, put a...
I guess what I'm trying to say is like there are pieces that are contradictory.
Right.
And I don't believe that it is on accident that it is contradictory. I think life is difficult.
Yes.
And I think there are 50 shades of gray,
Yeah.
and there are certain things that are quote unquote bad or good, but it's like if you murder a murderer, is that bad?
Yeah.
If you...
I wouldn't say, I have to say, I disagree with I don't think that the Bible is contradictory. I think that we don't understand nearly what we think we do. And so people have like decided, they have this book and they have this amount of words, and they've like taken that and like made it mean a whole bunch of other things that they don't know that it means. Like I had gotten in a discussion with someone about like birth control, and I'm like, well, it doesn't say nothing about birth control in the damn Bible. So we're taking like something that said something and then like trying to stretch that into a whole bunch of other things that like it's hard to say now. Like even like this, like wine. I heard John MacArthur, a pastor in Sun Valley, talking about wine and like the biblical wine, that it was like fermented for 3 days and like cut with water like 8 times and boiled, and that's what they meant by wine. And so people are like, well, they drink wine in the Bible, so it's okay to drink wine. And his point was like, there is no similarity to the wine that we drink now versus what they're talking about in the Bible. In those times, it was cleaner, it was healthier to drink wine than
fermentation, because it
than
eliminated all the
water.
dysentery water.
Right. So like, I mean, it wasn't clean. The water, they didn't have water filters. So I think that like you have to keep in mind when these things were said, what were they, who were they? The
context of time.
Yes. And who, like, a lot of Paul's writings, like who he's talking to when he says all these things. So people are taking things very literally, and other things they decide aren't literal. So, people like to pick and choose what stuff they want to believe out of the Bible. Like, oh, well, that part's just hypothetical. Like who decided that? Like, I guess there's some science to it, supposedly. But to me, I'm like, I don't know. I'm reading the same words as you and hearing like a whole different fucking thing. So
yeah.
and I'm not illiterate. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but I'm literate. And so I'm like, I don't understand how we're reading the same little,
passage, but getting two completely different outputs.
Yeah, hearing to like the opposite thing, out of it. Like, and I'm not saying that I'm right, but it is confusing. And so I think that like, God has given us what he's given us, and he obviously, I think he didn't make it all that clear for a reason. Because there is human error and there is free will to whatever extent. And he gives us enough rope to hang ourselves, And,
well, if we're told what to do, then where is our autonomy? Where is our free will?
Right. Well, and I think that, I don't remember if this was like something somebody said or if it was actually in the Bible, because I do not know how to quote the whole Bible. But
neither do I.
But I think I heard something about like to the extent of that God gives us free will because he wants us to choose him. Like he could just make us all bow to him and do whatever he wants, right? But he wants us to love him and to choose to turn to him. And so that would go with like our actions otherwise, I think, like, yes, we're, people say like, well, if there's a God, why does exist? Or why does, I think that's a hard question, but also like, if we weren't allowed to do evil things, then why would we need Jesus? Why would religion matter? Why would we need God at all? Like, I think that throughout the Bible, God gave people all the room they needed to hang themselves, and a lot of them did. Most of them did. I think everybody does, really.
That's Old Testament. New Testament is a lot.
But still, there's a lot of people fucking, you give them enough rope and they hang themselves.
I think though, and I do enjoy what you said about like, actually, it's not that contradictory. You're absolutely correct. Perhaps contradictory was the incorrect verbiage to use. I guess the interpretation of the Bible, depending on your denomination, your following, your background, what have you, can be different. And I've heard many people tell me that like, it's not the word of God. It's usually the one like presenting it or trying to transcribe it for you. Perhaps you have a pastor that isn't the most...
Right. There's plenty of those.
Yeah, you kind of know where I'm going with this one. Perhaps it's not necessarily the message, but the messenger.
Right.
Duly noted.
I think there's also like different life experiences, like the passage about like spare the rod, right? I've gotten a lot of arguments with people about this. When I hear that, I grew up in a very abusive family when I hear about that, I'm like, I don't think God's saying to beat your kid with a stick. I'm sorry. Like, even like spanking, I see a different thing in my head than some other people do, because of what I associate that word with. So it's like even some stuff just based on our own personal experience. Like my husband had a very different experience with spanking than I did. To me, that's absolute hell no, because my father was horrible and abusive and enraged, and nothing that he did made anything better. To me, so in my opinion, the only thing that spanking can do is possibly cause harm. And there are much easier ways to cause change that don't potentially have these, side effects of like having all this harm or your child feeling like they're being abused, whether or not you intend to abuse them.
If I had a boy first, I would have disagreed with you. But because I have a daughter first, right. I agree with you 100%. I used to think that I was going to be like the disciplinary. Before I had my first kid and my only kid right now, right. Hopefully not for soon or for long, I used to think to myself, like, I'm going to mold this. Because for some reason, I think we see ourselves in our kids, right? So I was like, I'm going to have a son. I'm going to mold him in my image. He's going to be me, but better. Like me, but smarter.
Yeah, but how narcissistic is that?
Incredibly so. And this is why I think I had a daughter. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, Alicia, if you would have met me 3 years ago, I'm a fundamentally different person for having a daughter, one, and having a daughter first. Because it just eliminated a lot of this ego that I had of like, I'm this machismo,
you're gonna
this.
Smack your daughter. Yeah.
No, not smack my daughter. But, if I would have had a son, I'm telling you right now, I would have had a completely different thing on spanking in general, right? But because I have a daughter, I cannot bring myself to harm her physically. So I think to myself, okay, I'm not going to be able to like physically harm you to get this lesson across. So like our daughter's 2.5. So this is like, I get it that she's a little kid, but and maybe it's biased because she's my daughter. I cannot explain to you how much I enjoy the conversation that I have with her. Like, baby, that's bad. And I can see the look on her face. I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to orate why. Why is this bad? Not this is bad, daddy said no. Yeah. Baby, like you took that from the kid. Like, well, don't you like your dolls? Like, well, how would you feel if I took your doll? And and I know that she's little, but I can already see those wheels spinning. And my hope, maybe I'm incorrect, and in like 2.5 years, I'm like, Alicia, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about, right? But my hope is by the time she's 5,
that she actually knows.
She's like, hey, I remember when, I don't want my doll being taken, so I'm not going to take their doll. Like that golden rule of treat others how you would want to be treated. I often say this with interactions with other men. If I have to resort to violence, physically make you act the way I do, then I have not articulated my argument properly. Yeah. And that extends to parenting.
And so I'm going to just go ahead and say that I'm not like, and I don't know. I'm not like talking crap about people who spank their kids. However, I think that there's
a time and a place for everything.
Yes, I think that like if your child runs out in front of a car, they need to have a traumatic experience so that they don't ever fucking do that again. Now your child hits your other child, so you hit that child.
What are you showing them?
Yeah, I don't know what lesson you think you're.
Don't hit by hitting.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a lot of like, I happen to be very well versed in like sexual dysfunction, right? And there's a lot of stuff like from spanking kids that like causes sexual problems later in life, like a boy getting his first boner like while he's getting a spanking from his mom, like that could potentially, I
didn't even know these things.
Right, so that's something that could possibly happen, and now he associates sex with not only his mom but with pain.
Getting spanked,
right? Or spanking someone else, or whatever it is, and that's just like one.
It's a slippery slope because everyone looks for that crazier high.
Yeah, but there's also like little kids can have sexual experiences, and spanking is kind of sexual. I'm sorry, like it is. Your vagina's like real close to your butt. I'm just saying, like that's.
So glad I don't spank my daughter.
Yes, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that I think that people who spank their kids are pedophiles. I'm just saying that there are possible outcomes that are really, really bad.
It's the context.
Right.
It's the context.
Right. And I think there are like very specific situations where I think it's necessary, but for the most part, like you said, like trying to actually explain to your child the difference between right and wrong, not just telling them this is right, this is wrong, and like you must obey me. I think it is probably, I mean, I'm no one to talk about parenting. I don't have any fucking kids. I have 3 step-kids that I'm like terrified of, but
no, but you've taken on that responsibility.
What I do
hold
know.
Up though. No, hold up though. You've taken on that responsibility. There are a lot of people that would not. Talk to any man. What's the number one thing they'll say is like, I don't want to be a stepdad. Yeah. So you've taken on 3 kids that aren't, that you didn't carry.
Right.
Yet you've taken on that responsibility. I think that's like an accolade. I think that's something respectable. So you say that like you're not a parent, but like with respect, that's not true.
Well,
You technically are.
Yeah, I mean, I would like I'm so scared of those kids. Like they don't ever know like when I'm mad at them because I'm so scared to raise my voice. That I'm just completely monotone all the time. And so, like, it's confusing for them. But, like, my dad was such a piece of shit. I don't know how to parent, but I know all the things not to do. And so I'm so scared to do those things. I don't want to be, you know, later in their lives, like, somebody that they look back on and are like, that was my step-parent who just stood by while these things happened and didn't do anything. Or, you know, like, whatever it is. It's like we think that everything's fine while it's happening, but, like, these kids our kids are 6, 7, and 12. Like, I didn't know shit when I was 6, 7, and 12. By the time I was 13, 14, 15, all of my parents' mistakes started manifesting themselves in my actions. You know, and it's like, so we might think everything's great, but like, yeah, sure, it looks great when they're 7. You don't know what kind of monster you're making.
Correct, but vice versa. You could also have like maybe perhaps you think you did it wrong and then they hit 18, 19, 20. They have that renaissance. Because I'll tell you this for myself, like personal anecdotal thing. Like I was a little shit until I wasn't. Right. You know what I mean? And then I hit my stride. But if you would have looked at me, 14, 15, 16, 17, this kid's, all he cares about is sports and girls and partying and doing all the wrong shit, right? And then, boom, like, it's like as if something just happened and clicked, and I was like, okay, no, like, left instead of right, zig instead of zag, and then I chose a better path. Right. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, you're not incorrect in your assertion of parenting. And I actually agree with you 100%. Like, parenting is so fucking hard because, like, there was no class on it. There's no, and even if there was, there's no one size fits all.
Drive a car, but they're like, here, have as many kids as you want.
Fair. But here's what I'm going to say about parenting. Just like every body as an adult is different. So, like, some things might work, some things might not. Mm-hmm. Same with kids. I can tell you right now, I am actively figuring it out. Yeah. I had an idea of what it would be. The application has been completely different, and I'm just rolling with the punches. And I don't know, and this is the most maddening part of this, is I don't know if I'm right. Maybe I should spank her. Well, maybe I should, but I won't know until she's 18, 19, 20.
Well, my point was that was, like, my personal experience skews my view on that to the, like, probably to a very unrealistic extent. Whereas, you know, my husband's the complete opposite. And he was spanked. He didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He thinks it's a valid thing, you know, and he's not wrong either, you know, but we have very different, when he says the word spank, I hear a different thing than what he's saying.
Because of your lived experience.
Yes, because of my experience, which is not like a calm, like, you did something wrong, this is what you did, this is why you're getting, you know, my dad was a psycho. He would, like, you know, lose his mind over my brother, like, dropped the guacamole or something and, like, fucking, you know, beat the shit out of him or whatever. And, like, it was an accident and, like, nobody, like, you never even knew it was coming. And so, like, yeah, my experiences shape my views on things. And, you know, I think, you know, it's probably good, like, my husband and I, that we kind of have such opposite views that, like, we were trying to meet in the middle on some things, you know. But on, like, especially parenting, like, I'm so scared of kids. Like, I'm so scared to, like, fuck one up because of how bad I turned out and how bad my brothers turned out. You know, like, like, if you want to talk about, like, nature and nurture, like, you look at my family and you're like, okay, that's definitely nurture, you know, like, because we all turned out, like, fucked.
But then I would, but let me, I want to be careful how I say this. I think that people can be, people can be hurt, young people can be hurt by having, like, that silver spoon in their mouth and living in this echo chamber of, like, bubble wrap, right? Where, like, the real world hasn't really pierced that armor. Right. Vice versa, I think the opposite can happen where, like, if you introduce too much trauma too soon under a short amount of time, you can also fuck up a kid. Right. Like, there are many ways to do this wrong that I think sometimes are hyper-focused. Yeah. I think there are more ways to get it right.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah, I guess, like, all I've seen is, like, really the worst case scenarios with everybody, kind of, not just my brothers, but, like, I was a drug addict and homeless for a long time, and then I was in that industry where there's a lot of people with a lot of mental issues, and, like, pretty much all I've been around my whole life are people with problems. And that I was in recovery in NA for, like, ever. And so it's a bunch of drug addicts who are clean, but they're still drug addicts. So all I've known pretty much my whole life is, like, the scum of society. And
I could say the exact same thing about finance.
Oh, yeah?
I could say the exact same thing about finance.
And I say scum of society with a grain of salt because I think that a lot of addicts are a lot more honest than a lot of people in finance.
I agree.
Like, at least I admit to all the shit that I do.
I can't tell you how many times we've gone to lunch and the people do, like, a bump, have a healthy adult cry in the parking lot, and then get back in for the next 4 hours of their day.
And then cheat on their wife.
And then, dude, I said it off the record. I'll say it on. I don't know a single person over like, if they make over 2.5 million a year. I don't know a single married man who's honest to his wife.
I feel like it's 2.5 thousand.
Oh,
Like
okay.
200,000. I mean,
Well,
I think it's a lot lower.
I
But
wouldn't say that much.
listen,
But I think you might be skewed on this one, though.
I know.
think you might be skewed on
That's
this
another
one.
where like, yeah, I feature danced. I went all over the country dancing
What
at
is
these
feature
clubs.
dance?
It's like
stripping?
Yes,
Okay,
but
okay.
but I didn't work at a club, but people would pay me to show up, and so then I would like dance. It was like a whole.
No one's fucking paying me to show up.
I know, and I can't even dance for shit, so it was funny. But I would, say, and I think strip clubs are way grosser than corn. To to be fair, because
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's terrible. But the difference is like somebody's buying you. Like in the industry, we're both being paid to be there. Like I'm not being bought. I'm being paid to put on a performance, but both people are.
Can you elaborate what you mean by someone is buying you? Forgive me, because I don't
Okay,
know
like
if I
at
don't
a
know if I
strip
agree
club,
or disagree.
They're paying you specifically for
A certain act.
right, for a certain act that they are not being. They're there to enjoy it. They're buying you. They're buying your time. They're buying your whatever you end up doing.
I do agree.
And there's a lot more that goes on at strip clubs than lap dances. I'm sure we all know.
Yeah. Can I tell you something? And I don't know if you're gonna think of me as like weird or something.
Totally. I already think of you as weird.
Fair. You want to know why I can't vibe with strip clubs
Why?
more than anything? I don't know if it's just the way I was raised or whatever. I have no, like, I told you this, financially conservative, socially liberal. I have no problem if two consenting adults want to get into whatever they want to do. But the reason I don't like strip clubs is I never liked the idea of, like, paying someone to touch me.
If these girls...
Does that make sense?
Listen, if these men had any idea how much those girls fucking hate them, they wouldn't be giving them their money.
You think?
Oh, I know. Because
I think you'd be wrong.
That they
I
would
think
still
some men
like
don't.
it.
I think some men don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I think it's
but the ones
I think
that,
it's a power trip.
The ones that think that they're dating these strippers and they give them all this money and buy them cars and like all that. I mean, there's like it's the same thing with like some of the guys in the corn fans. Sorry, sorry YouTube.
I might do like an audio like static Microsoft Tom corn every time you say it.
Just like put the corn emoji over my face.
I'm literally writing down the time.
Oh, I appreciate you. Not every hero wears a cape.
Yeah. No, but I think that I think that's true too. There are some people who get off on humiliating women and they like the idea that they can buy a woman, and that's why
I think it's a microcosm of losers. So like they go to the corporate America and they get shit on by middle management, who gets shit on by like the
those
executives.
are usually the guys who like the lawyers and shit who want to actually get like they go to dominatrix and want like their balls.
Oh, Jesus!
Businessmen
Christ.
like are always like want to get like beat up by someone.
That is
like,
a thing.
whipped. Yeah,
that is a thing.
Oh yeah, but it's funny. But anyways, my point about like the feature dancing is that like I've seen some of the ugliest shit. And these people, half of them have wedding rings on. They're getting a blowjob from some stripper in the back for $20. There was one time I danced, and then the next morning I went to like a restaurant. I was flying out that morning, and I went to a restaurant, and I see this guy that was there with his fucking wife and his kids, and I'm just like,
no.
Yeah, it was just so gross to me, and I was just like,
did you say something to him?
No, I should have. Now, I mean, at the time,
Well, not in front of them.
I should have said it in front of them.
I don't know about that one.
Fuck, why not?
I don't know about that
Dude,
one.
I'm telling on everybody. Like, you fucking cheat on your wife, don't tell me about it because I'm fucking telling her.
If he's the one getting the BJ in the back.
That's what I'm saying. But like, fuck, dude.
Isn't there that weird paradigm of like you don't want to ruin a household?
I'm not the one that ruined it.
Fair.
Man, he fucking ruined it.
Through
I mean,
his
and
actions.
at the time when I was in that industry, it was like it's part of the job to keep your mouth shut. I wasn't telling on people. But now I'm like, you want to send me a dick pic? I'll send it right to your fucking wife. Like, have fun with that. Like, I don't check my DMs, so like I haven't seen any of your dick pics. Haha. Sorry.
There's like an ocean of men going, oh
yeah,
man.
they're like, I mean, I sent her so many. I thought she was loving them. Like, sorry, I've seen enough dicks. Like, they're not impressive to me. Like,
There's an ocean of men just sighing like,
but the way that like they take them to, like, you guys,
dude, Whitney told me that that's a business, and I was blown away. It's ratings.
Dick
So like,
ratings. Oh yeah.
yes,
oh, yeah.
dude.
And, oh my
I
God,
didn't realize.
You gotta learn to read these people because you gotta get them to want you to buy another one. So you gotta like know if they want, like, there are guys who want you to humiliate them. You have to like figure out what it is that they want.
What
do
do
they
you
need
want
you to
me to
stroke their ego?
say?
Yeah, like you have to like try to
It's
figure
not
out.
that small.
None of it's honest. Like you just have to say what you think that they want to hear to give you more money. And like, I mean, and that's the reality of the industry. And like there's the men that understand that, and there's the men who really think that like, I mean. And I don't want to blow it for them. Like, if that's the only intimacy that they're going to get in their life, like, I don't want to ruin it, but...
Do you mind if we... okay, so forgive me, because I don't want to do, like, whiplash about, like, changing topics.
Yeah,
but
it's
one of
fine.
the things I did want to talk to you about is just that industry. its role in both the micro and the macro, both its role in individuals such as yourself. It allowed for a certain lifestyle for you. It allowed for a path of financial prosperity, but like also at the macro level, like, you know, has it hurt more people than it's provided for? Has it caused more division and more strife than it has for coming together and prosperity? So let me start with this question, broad. Do you think that porn, I'm now.
He's got him getting marked too.
It's gonna be a bunch of editing. Do you think that the corn industry has been a net neutral, meaning no difference either way, positive or negative?
Absolutely negative.
Absolutely negative.
Yeah. I think, like we were talking about before this podcast started, we were talking about like, you know, whatever, 40 years ago when they had like, you know, corn magazines.
Playboys.
Yeah, magazines that were just naked women who were like of age and
Rest
looked
in peace,
of
Hugh
age.
Hefner.
Yeah, and it's like at some point we lost the ability to jerk off to like a grown woman, and so now we need a girl with braces who looks like she's 12.
Bold of you to know what I can jerk off to.
And you want to see the numbers of what sells. Nobody wants to see two grown-ups that aren't related have sex. Let me tell you.
That's kind of.
It is what it is.
It's a reflection of needing to up the ante.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, what I've tried to tell people this, like, my whole career, because I learned it myself really early on, that, like, I have to, like, reset. You know, like, you can't just watch weirder and weirder and weirder shit. At some point, there's a line where you're gonna cross a line, you know, and into something that's illegal or something that's, like, horribly wrong. You know, and so, but people...
Forgive me, can you elaborate on what it is that you're saying? Because some people might be listening to this and go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so some, maybe, like, people start off watching, like, a girl video. And, like, that's enough for them. And then all of a sudden that's enough. Now they need, like, a boy-girl. Now they want to watch a gangbang. Now they want to watch, like, a scene. Now they want to watch, like, whatever. The only thing that leads to eventually is kids and animals. You know, or, like, violent, like, scenes that are real. You know,
or it gets to the point where, like, now these acts are illegal by our society.
Right. And morally incorrect. And I think that the industry... Yes, I think that the industry pushes that boundary very, very, very closely.
On purpose or by accident?
Absolutely on purpose.
On purpose.
They put these, like, man, when I came back to the industry, like, after I had quit for a couple years, they had, like, this guy, I don't even remember his name, I wouldn't say it, but he looked like he was, like, 8 with Down syndrome. And he was, like, one of the major, like, Brazzers stars, and, like, they put him in a little backpack, and I'm like, dude, this is, like...
It's awkward
legal
for you.
This is legal pedophilia, and anybody who works with that kid, he was 27, but he looked like he was a child. And I'm like, anybody who works with that person, like,
So they were going for a specific look.
Oh, yeah, and they do that a lot. It's usually, a lot of it's the other way around. They want the girls that look super young and with their fucking daddy or whatever. And, like, so I did plenty of those scenes, but I didn't feel...
Forgive me, when we say super young... Because the majority
they're illegal, yes. They're the girls who actually work in my industry, my old industry, they're illegal. There is also a bunch of shit that's not legal, that's not our industry. It's just illegally made shit of underage women that are all over Pornhub. And so, either way,
I didn't know any of this either.
It's fucking terrible. It's so bad. But they got in a lot of trouble recently. I had to delete, like...
Pornhub,
all of them.
The companies,
Pornhub
everybody
is actually
collectively.
better now. Pornhub, I guess.
I think we can say the name of a company.
Yeah, it is a company. Okay, so they are actually better now because they had to delete, like, more than half of their content.
Wow.
Yeah, because...
When was this?
Visa, a couple years ago, Visa and MasterCard had cut them off. Because they're like,
we're not going to supply this.
Child stuff. Yeah.
I did not know that.
So they had to go through and, like, get rid of everything that wasn't, like, very legally uploaded with IDs and all this stuff, and everybody knows who everybody in the scene is, and so it's actually the better place to go now, or it was at least a couple years ago. Yeah, whereas like XNXX and all those other, like, dude, I have stumbled across some stuff. I'm like, I don't think that girl is old enough, you know. But it's hard to tell because I've met some of these girls that are porn stars, and I'm like, please stop. You're too young. I mean, even if you're 36, you look like you're 8. Like, this is not okay. Like, do you realize who you're pandering to?
Yeah.
And then there's the argument, like,
it's
people...
slippery slope, right?
Yes. So I've done plenty, like, daddy-daughter stuff, but, like, I look like I'm fucking 40. I'm covered in tattoos, and I had, like, huge fake tits that I don't have anymore. But I was like, nobody's being fooled by this. Like, so I didn't feel uncomfortable with that. When they wanted
I don't know if you can adequately say that.
What do you mean?
That nobody's being fooled by this.
I mean, that nobody thinks I'm underage. That's what I'm saying.
Forgive me.
Yes,
Okay.
nobody is,
Sorry.
like, confused
Correct.
that I'm actually...
Yeah, like, this could possibly be illegal.
Yeah, they're not fantasizing that. They're like, this
Understood.
is a whore, like, with pigtails. Like, Now, when they tried to have me do the other stuff, the like stepmom stuff, I may have done like 1 or 2 scenes, and I was like, that's fucked up, and I'm not doing it. Because that is more believable. And I think that that's totally wrong, and it's not something that needs to be pushed, and it's all that's pushed, really. It's like incest, like age differences, like nobody wants to watch 2 grown adults like have sex with each other.
While I agree with everything that you're saying, I will kind of do devil's advocate because I just want to hear what your opinion on this could possibly be. I know that for me, I'm a man. You're a woman. Obviously, different sexes, different genders. But
don't assume my gender.
Very fair. Very fair. I believe.
Just kidding.
By physical appearance, I think. No, listen. How bigoted of me I am. I should
Pretty sure the whole world knows I have a vagina.
Listen, as we leave, I'll get flogged on the streets. Don't worry. You know, my upbringing, I was the younger brother of a brother. So, like, my brother was 3.5 years older than me.
Okay.
And I got all the benefits thereof because essentially what would happen is if, like, you know, he snuck in a magazine or once we got a home computer, like when I was like 4, he was 8. It only took a certain amount of time before certain websites started to get brought up. Right. I will say that, I'm saying this not for devil's advocate, but I'm saying this for anecdotal piece of evidence that pornography actually helped me as a young man navigate those waters in a multitude of ways. One, when it was time for me to be physically active with a woman, I felt more educated. I had seen a couple of things. Now, to the extent of what you're talking about, like all this other stuff, dude, I'm talking about like missionary, you know what I mean?
Okay, I'm trying not to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
Back when, no offense, we're the same age, around the same age.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
but
I'm
so
talking like 2009, 2000.
When we were growing up, what was
Different
available on the
times.
internet and our availability to access the internet was so slim that it was different. Kids have smartphones when they're 8.
Well,
So
I think it's crazy how it's on social media. I will say that.
And it's everywhere. There's no paywall to get to like these
Dude,
porn
Twitter
sites.
is
Twitter
insane.
It's so available, and they can't even help but find it. Even if they weren't looking for it, they couldn't help but stumble across it. And they're too young, and the topics that are now, like, it's not, like back in Jenna Jameson era, it was like
you had to look for it.
20-something-year-old woman and like a grown man with 2 people having sex with each other. Not the end of the world. That's not what corn is anymore.
But even then, though, you had to go look for it.
Yes.
You didn't stumble upon it.
It's not stumbling. You're not stumbling upon it when you're 8.
I have a Twitter account that I will not say because I'm a consumer of, not an attributor to, right? And I get like, I follow the markets a lot. So like Twitter is like my way to get news, like really up-to-date news of like what I'm going to do with the market, right? So like I'll be like, okay, Trump just bombed Yemen. Next, the House is going to do this. Okay, this bill. And then like literally I'll be scrolling. Those are my 2 things. The third one will be like some girl getting her back blown out. And I'm just like, what is my algorithm? By the way,
algorithms, that's another
No, but here's the thing.
topic.
But here's the thing I'm going to say though. So like this Twitter account has 0 followers, 0. I don't follow anybody, right? It's like just mine to look at certain things. Actually, that's a lie.
Know
I do
how
follow
long
news.
You look at certain photos.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe I'm a freak. I just don't know it.
Yes, but that's the thing. You can go to somebody's Instagram Explore feed and know who they really are.
I don't know though, because here's what I'm going to say. This is anecdotal, so perhaps I'm wrong.
Okay.
Like the amount of time, I'm just thinking out loud. The amount of time that I spend reading an article or listening to like the news, it is vastly disproportional, like the amount of time I spend doing that, then this time I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh my god, this girl's getting her back blown out.
When you just described it, you described plenty of a whole bunch of news articles and then some girls.
Yes.
So that makes sense. You spend more time reading news articles, so that's the majority of what you see. But
So
you also evidently like to look at girls getting their back
and I don't want to sound like Jesus Christ. I don't want to sound like I'm like PC. I'm only 32 years old. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like so old that like I'm not I'm ignorant to these things. But like I guess what I'm trying to say is I have a daughter, so like I think to myself like, what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. I'm not an idiot.
Right.
Like, do I want her to like wait until marriage? Absolutely, please God. Yeah. But do I think the odds are in that favor? Probably not. Right. Even if I'm the best dad in the fucking world, you know what I mean? Shit happens.
Yes.
So what I will say is like, what I think to myself is like, okay, well, what was the ease of access to this? I'm literally not looking for that.
Okay.
If I'm going on Pornhub and I'm getting that, that's one thing. Let me stop
you really quick. Would you like her, because you said earlier that you learned you felt more comfortable about what to do during sex from watching porn. Would you like your daughter to learn how to do sex from porn? Do you think that that's how she should be taught of how she should act? Sorry, I mean she's 2.5.
No.
So
It's not that it's weird. What you're asking me is like as a father. Thank you. Fucking. what you're essentially asking me is like, you benefited from some of the things that you had seen in your youth.
You probably did not learn how to eat pussy.
I actually learned that from a YouTube video.
Yeah, well, I have a video
True
on
story.
Pornhub of me fully dressed explaining with a fucking diagram how to eat pussy because it pisses me off. Because people watch porn and think that we're doing stuff for camera angles that looks good.
No, but let me retort this though.
Okay.
So your initial inquiry was like, would I want my daughter to learn from other things? Well, here's the thing. Who else is going to teach her? Okay. No.
Yeah,
but let me give you a caveat. I sought that information out. So like when I'm learning to go down on a woman, I'm going on YouTube, and it's not like they're hitting me with graphic novels. So I think there's a way to do both. I think there's a way to educate without necessarily indoctrinating,
Yes,
right?
But porn is not an educational video. No part of it should be looked at as what. So much of it is completely unrealistic. The amount of things that I have done with my body. A teenage girl should not do the things with their body that I have done with my body. It's absolutely inappropriate. They should not look. Boys are watching like girls get like double analed and thinking that they should be able to do that to their 16-year-old girlfriend. That's completely unacceptable.
That's a stretch.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
That's entirely uncool.
Okay,
so if you're gonna use, I believe that there should be like, did you see that movie, the Girl Next Door, with Alicia Cuthbert or whatever?
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Well, a very old movie. Anyways,
educate me.
The girl's used to be a porn star, and then she quits, and then she's like meets this guy at high school, and like they're dating, and like it's like a whole, I don't know, it's a great movie. But anyways, they end up doing this. The boy ends up doing this like sex ed video with porn stars. That was like a sex ed video that people might actually watch. Yeah, it was like, rather than like the bullshit that they show you in high school that's like, you don't want to, like whatever. It's
okay.
So like something like that was actually made to be educational is different than like the stuff that we do in porn on film for money is not even physically possible for some.
You're correct. So let me go back to the original question that you asked me.
Okay.
Would I want my daughter to learn from porn? No. The ultimate answer to that question is no.
That's good.
But do I want her to have like sex education? Absolutely.
Yes, but she shouldn't get that from the internet. She shouldn't get it from porn.
I also don't think that she should get it from a lot of like.
I know.
I
think
this
she
goes
should,
back to my
honestly,
thing.
I hate to say this, but I think she should get it from her parents.
I agree. Well, here's the thing. It's not binary. It's not like, will she learn this from like me sitting down having a conversation with her and then her mom sitting down having a conversation with her. It's like a pie chart. And the way I think that it works best is actually like 50% me, 10% her friends, like whatever stupid stories they have, 30% like sex education through the schools, and like 10% porn. Because here's the thing.
Girls are having anal at nine years old now.
Oh, well, not legally.
I know, but none of it's legal. You can't legally have sex as a child. You can't consent until you're 16 in most states.
Kids can have sex with kids.
No, you cannot. Not legally. They absolutely cannot. You cannot consent. You can't. The legal age of consent.
So if I'm like a 16-year-old and my girlfriend's a 16-year-old.
In most states, 16 is the legal age of consent.
This is going to sound so bad because it looks like I'm freaking like arguing like, hold up now, Alicia.
Yeah, wait a minute.
What I'm trying to say is at a certain point,
you're 14,
I was a teenager and I engaged in sex with another teenager and I felt like it was pretty consensual.
It might have been consensual, but it's not legal. Technically. No, I don't think anybody's getting in trouble for it.
I never knew I was a criminal.
Two 14-year-olds having sex with each other is not legal because neither one of them is legally able to
consenting adult.
Yeah, they're not consenting
I never thought about it.
People only think of it in the like
I thought
a grown
consent was
man
like
with a child.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought consent was like man, why am I arguing for this right now? I'm not arguing.
For the sake of yes, I understand.
I'm just trying to educate myself.
Devil's advocate.
So I'm 14 years old. I'm like, hey, me and my girlfriend at the time, we want to engage in this act, and my girlfriend at the time was like, hey, I want to engage in this act.
Right.
I never looked at that as like I was doing a wrong thing.
I'm not saying that you were. I'm saying that it wasn't legal.
In the eyes of the greater municipality of Missouri.
Yeah, it is not.
I was a bad boy.
In most states, some states the legal age of consent is like 13, but it's still like people think that like then like you can be 26 and screw a 13-year-old.
No,
not true. You can be 14
no one thinks that.
And screw a 13-year-old.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is.
You say no one thinks that.
Yeah. I was about to catch myself because we both know Dustin Lampros. And like the rise. No. Oh my God, forgive me, Dustin. I didn't mean like that. Oh shit, that's gonna be bad.
He catches pedophiles.
catches the
Yes.
pedophile. He does the Lord's work. Forgive me. I will be the first person. Dustin, I'm so sorry. Dustin's gonna be like, yo, what the
Yeah, I
fuck?
was like, damn.
I'm catching strays. I'll be the first person to tell you that like this new like Chris Hansen, when I was little, did this like thing on MSNBC called Dateline MSNBC, and essentially Chris Hansen's job was like to be the pedophile catcher of like before the internet, or while the internet was still nascent, before social media anyway. Now, I mean, you have Instagram pages and Facebook pages and Twitter pages dedicated to this.
Yes.
By the way, not just one, like
Oh,
multiple.
I fucking know all
and
about
and
it.
the shortage of shortage of people that they're catching is
Yeah,
astronomically
it's like
crazy.
they're
to me.
saying it's up to 5% of the population are pedophiles. So if you think about the actual numbers there, like it's pretty severe. Now I believe that porn. This is one of the things that I learned after years of doing it. I believe that porn directly. I think that there are people who are
Attributes?
born with a cross wiring in there. Like pedophilia can show up on a brain scan. It's a cross wiring.
Can it?
Yeah, it's a cross wiring in your brain where like the you know the little lumps in your brain and they like all do something different. Okay, it's like one of them is the one that's like caring for somebody and the sexual one are right next to each other and they are crossed.
Oh,
so like
interesting.
the motherly instinct is crossed with the sexual instinct, so they're wrong. That there is like actual genuine pedophilia that it isn't. I mean, I'm not defending them, but it's not their fault. It's an actual brain chemistry thing. And that's a thing. And now there's also, I believe, a lot of people who have just, like we were talking about earlier, watched weirder and weirder shit until that's all they can get off on now. And so that's where corn comes in and destroys.
We fucked this up so much at this point.
I know. It is what it is. Like, fuck, you're just going to have to post this somewhere
No,
else.
it just won't be monetized. It's fine.
Yeah, well, that sucks.
I'm enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, well, and it's good for these people to hear it because this is stuff that I would like society to understand, even though they're not going to listen to me. Especially as an ex-corn star, although I feel like I have more of a right to speak of it, really, because of the experiences that I've had. Like, if
I think you
anybody
have a
knows
first
about
count
this
of-
shit,
Yeah, first count expense.
yeah, with all of it, with pedophilia, I mean, not myself, I mean, I was in child porn when I was a child, so, like, I have, like, a whole wealth of experience about, like, all these things, and so I feel like I of all people have a right to speak on it.
Of course.
More so than most people who think they have a right to speak on it and have no fucking idea, you know.
Do you think that you're shunned out of the equation or out of the conversation?
I'm shunned out of a lot of equations or conversations. Yeah, I think because of what I did. But I also think that those people aren't clicking on this video.
Can I ask? Can I tell you something that I think you might find interesting? So you will be the 89th episode on this podcast. I've had 89 people on this podcast.
Nice.
You are the first person to stump me with a question. Seriously, and she even like responded to it 'cause she realized it too.
Wait, what did I stump you with?
When you
I
asked me,
forgot.
is
about your daughter.
this how you want? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a
You
very
hit it hard.
and it's very but it's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think that ostracizing people or dismissing them is a reflection of a poor. I want to be careful how I say this. Forgive me. When you diminish someone else's input because you believe them to not necessarily be morally acceptable
Right.
or perhaps intellectually acceptable, that's fine on face value, but then you still have to look at their argument and see if it has merit
has
or
validity,
weight.
yes.
So like I could get a question from someone that I think is like the bottom of the barrel of society. But if they bring up, no, you're not that. But if they bring up a good point
Right.
that hits,
Right.
you'll feel it nonetheless, right?
I feel like different people in different walks of life have more of a right to talk about certain things. Like the bottom of the barrel, like if you bring a pedophile in here, they'd have a lot of really relevant things to say about pedophilia that they understand better than I do.
Yeah,
or
but
anybody else does. I'm not saying you should, but I'm just saying they're like
But let's-
somebody
okay.
who was in my industry, I can have a lot more to say about my industry and how I think that it affects the world than somebody who just watches it.
Yeah.
Because they don't see the stuff that I see. They don't see the stuff behind the scenes. They don't see the reaction of the fans. They don't get the custom video requests that I get. It's sick, the shit that people ask me to do.
Is there any part of it that is positive?
I think that there is. I don't even want to say yes, but I do believe that there is like.
I'm not saying like it's more positive than not.
Yes,
but someone listening to this might think, oh my god, this is a horror story.
I don't think that as a I don't think that corn as a whole, like as a concept, is necessarily harmful. I think it's the way that money
progressed.
has, the way that it's progressed, the way that money, like algorithms have shown companies what makes the most amount of money, and they've pushed that way past the limits, and they're now feeding into whatever like ingrained pedophilia. Maybe somebody didn't even know they were into that shit until they saw some bullshit fucking video of a guy or a girl that looked like they were underage, and they're like, oh, and they came harder than they ever did watching it, and now they're like, oh, well, let me find more of that. And you know, they would have maybe never even fucking known had they not stumbled across this like stuff that's crossed a line.
What about the argument that is being presented that says that the introduction or the access to this content inhibits or prevents people from acting
so this
on their urges?
As someone with a diagnosed on-paper sex addiction, plus a drug addiction, plus whatever else, I'm a fucking addicted to everything.
Addicted to good vibes.
Yes. No, but like from my, and I want to almost say my professional experience.
You can.
You cannot. That's like asking a meth addict to smoke meth once a week.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's necessarily apples to apples.
Okay, so sexually, if I want to, so okay, here's the thing. Here's a personal anecdote. I like limp stuff, like fucking sleeping people. Okay, something that would be totally illegal if I engaged in real life.
You like sleeping people?
Yes, or being asleep and people doing stuff to
me.
Either
where
way.
I come from, that means like knocking somebody out. Like you slept someone. Forgive me.
No,
I was like, damn.
no,
I did not take you to violent
type. That is like
type.
one of my weird fucking kinks. Like if I see a girl pass out at a party, like I want to put stuff in her. Like, I know it's bad. The difference between me and
I do it already.
The difference is I tell people this shit on the first day I meet them.
Like in their hand?
I don't know. I want to stuff them like a turkey. Like whatever.
My God.
But okay. But so my point is that's something that would be highly illegal and immoral.
Rightfully so, by the way.
If I
we do not condone that act.
Yes, because nobody can't consent to that. There is a way to pre-consent, which I've delved in. Also, like consensual non-consent.
Brother, I'm learning so much about consent right now.
There's a lot to learn about consent. But
if I'm under 18, can't.
Yes.
If I'm asleep, can't. But I can pre-consent.
Yes, you
but
can
if I'm awake,
pre-consent to being asleep.
I'm gonna pass out.
But in court, I don't know if that would hold up. You know, you'd still probably be called like. Anyways, my point is that's something that like is interesting to me. I enjoy it. The more that I watch videos like that, the more I think about it, the more I want to be involved in it. When I've stopped watching porn and not had anything to do with it, and you know, focused on like thinking about my husband when I jerk off, you know what I mean? It's my entire view on sexuality has differed. I used to need to watch stuff like that to come. Now I can like think about my husband jerking off, and I'm like, you know, that's beautiful to me. That's like I fucking arrived. I'm like from where I came from to like be able to jerk off to my own husband. Like that's amazing. And I think that's, if you can't do that, there's a problem and you need to reset. You need to go watch two girls make out again until that works for you. You know, because that's the thing that people just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper until they have nowhere to go.
Well, can I present to you a separate argument that,
yes.
And I said this off the record, but I'll say it on. So the University of Cambridge just came out with some sort of, I don't know if you call it a poll or whatever, some piece of data that essentially said that the most sexually active people in America today are married and religious people. So of those that are engaging in sexual acts, overwhelmingly, it wasn't like a close second or anything, it's married, quote, and religious people. So like, I know that you're saying that the threshold for you to experience orgasm has dropped. I'm trying very hard. Alicia, I'm trying very hard, has dropped to like what you would consider. Stop fucking laughing.
It's right? To what I would consider admirable.
Yes. Yeah. To a ladylike quality.
Right.
Not that I'm a gentleman. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, it seems like socially or societally at least, the ones engaging in the most intimacy are those that are living the conservative lifestyle.
With each other that's reported.
Explain.
Okay, somebody who's children is not reporting that to the Cambridge University.
Yeah.
And their opportunity. Okay,
I think we've established that that's the minority of cases as well, though, right?
5%
of pedophiles.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. That is a lot.
And
of
the
people.
amount
that's
of like the amount of reported incidents are so. I mean, child molestation is so vastly underreported, especially for boys, because boys, whether it's a girl or if it's a woman that them, people are like, oh, what are you a? If it's a boy that them, they're like, oh, you're a.
I want you to put this timestamp down. I'm gonna have to edit the shit out of this.
I'm
Keep
sorry.
going.
No, but like
No, keep going.
But
I'm gonna
that's
edit
an
it.
important point because there are so many boys that have gone through this. They have gone through experiences like this who have never said a word about it because a girl gets sympathy for it. They get help. Everybody feels bad for them. When a boy does it, they're like, "What's wrong with you?
Well,
why didn't you like it?"
I'm a guy, and I
Okay.
will show my hypocrisy on this one. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that like when I was in high school, there was a teacher that engaged in certain
High
acts with me.
school. Let's talk about elementary school.
Oh, okay, that's a little different. I mean, that's the nice thing about doing a pre-recorded show. You can take bathroom breaks whenever you want. Okay, there
I
was
feel like
like,
we would do it if it was live anyway. It's like,
yeah.
Listen, guys, chill out. I gotta pee.
There was, I have to be honest with you, there was a structure that I was going to have for this conversation, and we have derailed so much that at this point,
I tried to warn you.
No. I don't mean that as like a bad thing. I mean that as like I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that like this is not what I had planned.
I warn everybody that wants to do a podcast like, listen, we're going to end up talking about pedophiles. I promise. Like, I don't know how it always gets there, but it does. Like, it is what it is.
Do me a favor.
It's like
Just move that closer to you.
It's
Beautiful.
the things that need it. Like, dude, podcasts being like fun and entertaining are cool and all, but like people need to hear this shit. Like they do because people think it doesn't affect them. It's like pedophilia is like some fucking tiny little problem that has nothing to do with them. But like 1 in 4 women is raped. Like 1 in 4 girls are molested. Like, and that's what's reported. And the boys they think is even higher than that. And it's like it's such a big It's such a big fucking problem.
Because of underreporting? What do you mean?
Yes, because of underreporting, because boys don't say anything about it. And if they do, their parents don't say anything about it. It's just not reported. I think for the most part, probably young boys don't say anything about it. Especially if it's a man, like we were talking about before. Because they feel all types of ways about it. And it's like, it breaks my fucking heart, because at least women get fucking sympathy. Boys don't.
I can say as a man, I don't think sympathy is afforded to us because we're the arbiters of our own world.
Right.
However, as a boy, I do agree with you that like they should be protected and nurtured.
I've heard pedophiles say like about boys and girls like, well, what's the difference?
Jesus.
They don't see a difference because before they hit puberty, they're just it's the innocence that they want to fucking they want
to ruin.
Yeah,
they want
to
ruin.
fucking destroy something innocent, and so they don't even see the difference between a boy or a girl because it's not, a pedophile that fucks a man, a little boy doesn't think that he's gay. Like,
do you think that I have to ask this because I want to believe this, that the general populace does not think about these things because they are not exposed to these things because it's not as prevalent as we think. However, it seems like everyone has a story.
Listen, I think that the general populace, and okay, a couple years ago, I would have fucking ranted about that, like, people are like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't want to think about it because it makes me too angry. I would have fucking ranted about that. A couple years later, like, I fucking feel the same way. I have, like, spent 4 years trying to, like, find a solution to this problem. I wanted to make, like, a fucking, at least, like, a 800 number that, like, a fucking pedophile can call, like, if he's standing outside of school and doesn't want to do something shitty, but like feels like he's gonna, and like that doesn't even exist in this country, and like I tried for 4 years to come up with like a fucking solution to any of this, and all it did was like make me lose my fucking mind, and so here I am, and I'm like, I don't even want to fucking think about it anymore because there's nothing I can do.
Perhaps this is my ignorance, Alicia. There were a lot of things that I'm willing to give ground on, like suicide hotlines hotlines of other kinds. Like, I'm willing to be like, hey, listen.
You don't think there should be a hotline for pedophiles? You
said what the outcome for these people should be earlier on this podcast, and I agreed with you 100%.
Okay, but hold up. 90% of pedophiles don't ever act on it. I'm saying pedophiles as in people who have the attraction to children.
Okay, but here's what I'm gonna say. If every thought that every person has had at any individual moment, convicted them of the crime,
Right.
then we'd all be guilty of
Right.
everything
No,
all
but,
the time,
but there are
right?
people who would be brain scan pedophiles
Yeah,
who
but
spend
did they-
their whole lives. There's a whole fucking group called like Virtue Peds, I think.
Yeah,
that
but-
like it's people who are pedophiles who are who think it's horrific and they have a whole group of like the little support system between themselves where they talk about like ways to cope with and not act on it and all this stuff. And I have like utmost respect for those people.
Okay.
Because sexual urges are the hardest ones to not act on.
Duly
right?
noted.
Right. So like, I believe 100%.
But did they act on it?
Those ones supposedly didn't.
Okay, if they supposedly
Yeah, once
didn't,
they
then they are not
Then
pedophiles.
they should get. No, they are.
No, because the
technically,
difference is discipline. Acting on something makes you that
a
thing.
pedophile means that you have an interest in. I would be.
I thought it was the act of.
No, that would be a child molester or a rapist,
okay.
right? So
Forgive me.
like I don't know what it's called when you somnophiliac.
Necrophilia?
No, I think it's somnophilia when you want to fuck sleeping people. Technically, I'm a somnophiliac. Have I ever a sleeping person? No. Although I did touch my husband's dick one time while he was sleeping, and I fucking came without even touching myself. But okay, that besides.
Oh my gosh!
If you gotta edit that out.
No.
He knows
Dude,
about it.
at this
I told
point,
him
we're
about
editing
it.
out half the conversation.
Okay, but no, 90% of people who have the urge don't want to fucking act on it. There's like 10%. It's like you have to be kind of a psychopath and a pedophile to like kids.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
this
or
is,
there's the people who just watch child porn because they think that will, like you were saying earlier, that people think that if they like subdue the urge that it will disappear. But the problem is that like watching child porn makes you think about children more. It makes you think about sex more. And it sucks for these people because they have to go their whole lives without fucking ever indulging in what they want. But also, I'm like, okay, so like most men want like a supermodel. They don't get that. They get some like flabby, like whatever, whoever they end up, their wife. No offense to anybody who has like a flabby wife. But I'm just saying, nobody gets exactly what they want. And I'm like, pedophiles, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, fucking suck it up. Get like a woman that's like a little too old for you. Like, nobody gets exactly what they want.
Let me kind of turn the tables on you, but it's not exactly like that because what it is like the destruction of what it is the what I believe is the greatest part of humanity is children, is the innocence, is the perfection personified.
I do have empathy for.
So no, they're not the same.
I know, but I do have empathy. I've seen TED Talks where, like, I saw this one TED Talk where this girl was talking about that, like, pedophilia is a sexual preference or something, like what's that called? Like when people are gay, whatever.
Predisposition? No.
I can't think of
like
the word.
born,
No, you're right.
born
It's,
that
like,
way.
Very controversial.
Yes. So like, and then I read all the comments on this video, and people were fucking furious at her for saying it.
I would be furious.
I actually agree with that. I believe that it is. That doesn't make it okay, and that doesn't mean that's something that we should support and say like, oh, that's what you like, so you should do it because the other party is not capable of consenting. So it's not something that we can condone, but we have to accept that it exists. And if we can't offer help in this country, listen, in Germany, they started opening treatment centers for pedophiles, for people who wanted to not do those things. And the crime rate went down 70%. So in America, we're like, no, fuck you. If you even think those things, like, we hate you and don't even fucking, like, you can't even go to a goddamn, like, Sex Addicts Anonymous group because of what you personally like. And we don't help those people and they end up kids. And so, like, yes, do I think that we should, it's like, dude, I one time I posted on Twitter, if you wouldn't hug a pedophile to keep a kid from being a piece of shit. And
I agree with that.
And I got so much shit for it. But it's like, really, if that's what it comes, I mean, it could be that that's what it comes down to, is that we need to fucking embrace them and help them and give them a support system and all the shit. And as much as we maybe don't want to do that, people didn't want to do that to addicts, to drug addicts. But look how many addicts are clean because they are now able to go to fucking support groups and NA meetings and all these things. It sounds shitty because nobody wants to feel like they're supporting it or saying it's okay. But it's not. It's like, if the point is to help kids, not to help the pedophiles.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
This is
the actual the true definition, because that may set the stage for the conversation.
What is the definition of pedophile?
Okay, so pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder. This is probably controversial, but in which an adult or older adolescent experiences a primary or exclusive sexual attraction to prepubescent children.
So people who like teenagers are called hebephiles.
Yeah, but prepubescent could also mean, like, anyone under the age of like 13 or something, but like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old undergoing
that's
technically
hebephile.
pedophilia.
It's a different word,
Oh,
but
sorry.
it's after they've gone through puberty or started puberty, it's called a hebephile.
Can I say something that is going to make me sound incredibly ignorant?
Yes, most people are.
There are a lot of things in this world, Alicia, that I will kind of like give some ground on.
Right.
Because I try to I understand, and we've discussed this on and off camera, that like my lived experience is not necessarily the lived experience of everybody else.
Right.
I try I try to put a lot of effort into understanding that this person is different from me in terms of how they think, but not different from me in terms of like the same things that I want, like peace, prosperity, yada yada. I am not willing to give that ground on pedophilia.
Okay, so here's
I'm not.
This. It's not even giving ground. So like I've actually talked to. This is like the podcast I did with Tommy Vex, because he's a fellow addict in recovery, and so I used that. It was easy to use that as an example. Like I was taught in Narcotics Anonymous how to not do the thing that I want to do more than fucking anything in the world. I want to fucking slam drugs more than anything in the fucking world, and I was taught how to not do that. I still think about it all the time. I still want to fucking do it. I've had relapses. I've fucked up. The difference is when you're a pedophile, like when you fuck up, the consequences are way more severe and they affect another person.
And they affect another person.
But the
not
fact
not just another person,
but listen,
but the most innocent,
but the fact
most
that
impressionable.
we don't have a fucking PA, a fucking pedophile anonymous, so those people even have a chance to fucking work on not hurting children is insane. That's disgusting.
What
and
would you say?
selfless.
What would you say to the people that say learn some fucking discipline?
Try never having sex with a woman again.
If it
Learn
meant
some fucking discipline.
one second.
No,
I'm gonna come to that point.
Gay people don't fuck gay
No.
other fucking men.
But if
Learn some discipline.
my primal urges resulted in this type of output,
but they don't even believe that. Pedophiles genuinely want to believe that the ones that aren't sadists, they want to believe that the kid likes them back. Like they want to believe that it's like a relationship. I mean, that's like they don't even they in their minds they make it to where they're not hurting this person, that they're helping them or whatever, and they want it to be consensual. They don't want to have to them. They want to. I mean, they want to like. That's what grooming is. They want them to.
yeah, but wouldn't you agree that all of this is unacceptable?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
I am the first person, but also I think about it enough and care about it enough that I've done a fucking ton of research on it, and it's a problem that needs to be helped.
Well,
and even trying to find a treatment center. Listen, if you are a pedophile, like and I mean by that like somebody who has an interest and is trying their fucking hardest not to like act on it, there's nowhere for you to go. You can't even go to therapy because you'll be reported for a thought crime.
Yeah. Okay.
What do those people do? Like, do you not want to help those people who've never acted on it but are trying their fucking hardest not to? Like, you don't think we should fucking offer them a helping hand?
Let me ask you this question.
Because I would move them all into my home so that they wouldn't fuck a kid. I would.
Okay, move them into your home.
I have.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Alicia. Let me go.
I have, so that they wouldn't fucking do anything else.
But let me ask you this.
While I tried
okay?
to help them.
I'm curious to see how much ground we have in common and then where we differ.
Okay.
So number one, we're both established that this is an incorrect path for any individual to undergo.
Absolutely.
Okay, duly noted. Number two, it's not the thought, it's the act.
Right.
There is a lot of people in a myriad of aspects of life that think certain things, but they never act upon these things.
Like I said, I want to fuck sleeping people. Yes, I understand.
So wanting to do something and then acting on that thing, two completely different things. So we're in agreement there.
Yes, absolutely.
My thing is this. I'm not going to engage in thought police. I'm not going to ask everybody, like, have you ever thought of this or that? And then, like, deduce that from that. I go from the act of. So, like, goes back to Dustin and the work that 501 PC or whatever that name is, whatever the work they do, 561 PC. These child predator organizations, they'll catch people in the act of wanting to meet up with people. Forgive me, Alicia, perhaps this is my ignorance.
I think those people should go right to prison. Those are not the people that I'm talking about.
Agreed. So then my thing is like, okay, so like where is that sweet ground where like we should find enough empathy to treat these people before they act and then just saying like, no, go fuck yourself.
Once you've acted, I think that it's not worth it to help you. But here's the other thing. Our fucking country does not put them away. So
you're not wrong.
I know that because I have a lot of personal experience with that. If they do not, they give them a slap on the wrist. They put them in a special jail where they're not fucking hurt by any other prisoners with just a bunch of other weirdos in there. They're released and they fucking continue.
No, they have a history now as a.
And you know how fucking much that does.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to say. I will say
How
that
literally like if I've told you off camera, but the amount of personal experience I have with specific they do fucking nothing.
yeah.
And
In terms of what like
preventing it from happening and maybe like while they're on probation, like they don't even check their fucking phone.
so then
They
isn't
still
this
have a
but
fucking
isn't this an
smartphone.
argument for my path and not your path?
No, I'm not. I have no argument with you about once they've committed any sort of a crime.
Okay.
Once they've looked at child porn, tried to meet a child, anything like that. Once you've crossed
Off with their
line,
head, old friends.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it's not worth trying to help you. And I've tried to help
Agreed.
people in that position before they actually hurt a child, like somebody who's watched child porn for fucking years and trying not to act on it. And I've tried to help people like that. I put them in fucking treatment centers that cost me $1,000 goddamn dollars a day to try to like see if they could be fixed, and they can't. I mean, from my experience, they weren't. And so,
Well, then isn't that an argument that like this?
off with their heads, yes.
No, not even off with their heads, but this mentality that you have of like trying to redeem these people or like trying to prevent this from happening is almost.
Once they've crossed the line, I don't think that they're helpable.
I agree. I would even.
However, okay, so here's a story. Okay, one of these kids that were in this like
Look,
virtue. Remember,
forgive me. I'm going to interrupt you for
Okay.
1 second because I want to ask a poignant question.
Yes.
I am willing to accept that gay people are born gay.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I can do to change them. And by the way, I think that if God loves all his children so equally, that includes the gays.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Christians that would tell me that I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. That's my interpretations of the word.
Mm-hmm. So if,
you know,
hold on. So if gay people should be able to,
you're going to go right to the next step,
Right.
and that's pedophilia.
Okay.
And here's why I tell you what's like why that's different.
because the gay
Is
people,
because-
both people are consenting.
No. They're adults, not Jesus Christ. They're adults, number one, right? Like if it was like a 30-year-old man and a 15-year-old boy, that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 30-year-old man and a 25-year-old boy or man,
Yeah.
cool. My thing is,
The children can't consent.
no, it's the predatory nature
Yeah.
of it. That's the word, predatory, because everybody, no matter what walk of life they have, can pinpoint a moment in their life where they were either predator or prey.
Right.
And perhaps when they were predator, they held themselves back. Hey, I know my power.
Right.
I'm not going to exert it. Perhaps it's the manager at work. Perhaps it's the teacher with their student. Perhaps it's the mentor with whatever it is that their person, whatever it is. And then there are people that see that power paradigm and they take hold of it.
Right.
And there's no easier power paradigm than age because it's like biological.
For pedophiles, that's the 10%.
10%?
The ones that prey on
Yeah.
people.
Oh, so 90% of them don't.
90% of them don't.
Good. Don't.
And those people, those are
But
the
good
people
don't
that-
because if you
Yes.
do, I want to bullet through
I
your
know,
eyes.
but those, I posted on Twitter at some point, like to anybody who has that inclination and has their whole life fucking abstained from doing that, despite the fact knowing that if anybody even knew that you thought about that, they would fucking hate you anyways. Like, thank you for not fucking acting on that. I've said that and I got so much shit for it. I don't give a fuck either because thank you to those people who didn't fuck a kid when they wanted to.
Agreed.
Bro, because it's hard for me to not fuck people I want to fuck, you know, and it's like they have to go their whole life. And like you think about it, like, yeah, like a pedophile, they mess up one time. And I'm just saying, if they mess up one time, that's fucking
I think
it.
you're
They should be beheaded.
I think you're extending a grace because you're talking about consensual adults and you've talked about consent
Right.
earlier in this conversation. You're trying to
I'm not trying to give grace to people who have acted on anything. I think once you've crossed the
No,
line.
no, not even acted. Forgive me, not even acted. What I'm trying to say is like you understand that you, in your sense, have had a flawed background or perhaps made
Right.
mistakes and all these other things. So you're extending grace to other people that could possibly think like you. Don't you think that there's a factor in here that like not everybody means well the same way you might?
That's
And you might
90%.
and you might be extending grace to
yeah,
the majority of people that don't deserve
I
it.
think that I extend grace to more of the people that deserve it, way past pedophiles. I do that with everybody I've tried to rescue. I've moved fucking 20 plus homeless people into my home, trying to fucking rescue them. You know how many times it was successful?
Zero? Just-
Fucking zero.
Really?
Yeah, I was fucking robbed every goddamn thing that I could have been. Zero, actually, that's not true. One of them got clean, but not directly from me fucking helping them. And one of them is clean
At
now
least
and has a
one.
family
One of
and shit.
20. 5% I'll take. 5% I'll
Fuck.
take.
Yeah, but like,
0% is like no hope.
yeah, but like, I mean, but that wasn't directly because of me. You know, it was like years later he ended up one kid
indirectly,
that I was homeless
indirectly.
with, who did drugs with, who's actually clean and has a family now, and it's like
God bless.
fucking awesome. Yeah, but yes, I try to extend grace to as many people as possible, but also like that's what the Bible fucking asks of us. And this was way before I was a Christian. Like this, I mean, I feel empathy for people because I am fucked up. I believe that I was born fucked up. I was raised fucked up. I was not given a chance to not be fucked up. I was given a chance as an adult to change my behavior, but I can't fucking control what's in my head. There's nothing I can do about it. And I'm lucky that all I got was being a fucking whore and a drug addict, because not everybody gets that. Some people get fucking, they want to fuck kids, you know? And I'm not saying that they should be given any, like, goddamn grace or luxuries, but I think that the ones who are trying their hardest not to do, this is, okay, here's a story that I want to tell you that I read about this kid that was in this, like, virtue ped thing that I was talking about. He was 17. He realized that, you know, the people that he was interested in as he was growing up, like, he got older and older, and they stayed the same age. So he's 17, and he's still interested in girls that are 12. He fucking shot himself in the head. This is a kid who's still a boy. He's 17 years old. He never did anything to anyone. But he recognized that, like, I want to fuck a 12-year-old, and I'm a piece of shit. And he shot himself in the head. Do you not think somebody should have done something for that 17-year-old boy?
I think that at that age, the discrepancy in age, like the difference between a 30-year-old and a 25-year-old is not as seen as much as possibly like a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old, right? The problem is that the formative years, that's the variable here.
My point is that the boy that killed himself, he was not a bad person. He was so good of a person that he took his own life so that he wouldn't do something bad. Something that he couldn't do anything about. If he could have changed that, I'm sure he would have, rather than taking his own life, right? So people like that, those are the people that I think should be fucking extended a hand. Like, because
do you believe he would be redeemable though?
I think that it's possible to not act on the things that you want to do.
This is a weird thing for me to say. Forgive me. I don't want to say redeemable because that's not for me to say.
Right.
Do you think that it is
possible
it could
to help
have been possible
yes.
for him to be helped with his...
Yes. I believe that it is. If somebody really doesn't
Do you think that's optimism and not pessimism, the type of thought process?
It might be optimism for me because I want to believe that people are helpable, but the guy that did the shit that he did to me has never hurt anybody since. He went to all these fucking groups and went, you know, did some time in jail, went to fucking... He was discharged from going to these sex groups like 5 years before he quit. He kept going to them, like, has done everything he could to never repeat those mistakes. And I have utmost respect for that. And that's somebody who actually did act on them. And he's done everything he can to not ever do those things again. And I have fucking watched, trust me. I have fucking monitored his every move. Because I told him, like, when I tried to kill him,
That's some Big Brother shit if I ever heard it.
I told him, if you ever fucking do that, if I catch a fucking glimpse, a fucking word, a whisper of any fucking thing, I will fucking end your life.
Do you mind?
And that's not why he did it.
Do you mind if I put a cap to this part of the conversation, but I want to synopsis?
Yes.
Let's talk first about the difference between predation on both men and women. I think that both young men, or I'll say boys and girls, should both equally be protected.
Right.
That the gender that they have should not dissuade you from trying to protect a young 12-year-old girl the same way you would protect a young 12-year-old boy. Right. The argument that I was simply making was that the difference in a 15-year-old boy engaging in certain acts with a 20-year-old woman or a 25-year-old woman is substantially different from a 15-year-old girl from a 20 or 25-year-old man simply because of the physical capabilities of that man. Yes. That's all I was saying.
All I'm saying is that the 25-year-old woman is trying to fuck a 15-year-old is still a pedophile.
Equally
and she needs
egregious.
To go to fucking prison. I don't care how pretty she is.
Agreed.
That is disgusting. I'm 32. I've been all the way through all those ages. At no point did I want to fuck a child.
Agreed.
And I was abused and molested and all those things. I have every excuse to want to fuck kids, I guess. You know, that all these people... I'm just saying, like, they're all like, well, I was molested as a kid. Like, so the fuck was I? I don't want to fuck any kid.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky for
Quit
that.
using that as an excuse kind of thing.
Yes.
I agree.
And I'm... But also, like I said before, I'm grateful that all I got, like, was being a whore and a fucking drug addict. Because it could have been worse. There are people who are abused, and that's what they end up with. I think that pedophiles or predators in general, I think, can be created, and I think that they are.
Agreed. And I think hurt people can hurt people.
Yes,
I agree.
and going back to the corn thing, I think that doesn't fucking help. I think primarily, I think it would take more than that to make somebody like a predator and a pedophile. Well, however, it doesn't fucking help that you go on Pornhub and all you see is like girls with fucking braces. Like, what the fuck?
Would you... Okay, let me ask you this
They look like they're like fucking 12 years old.
Okay, well, so then let me ask you this. So, like, one of my deeply held beliefs is like capitalism. The market will decide, right? And
Right.
I don't necessarily want for like big government or big brother to come in and tell me how to live my life.
Right.
However, we're now talking about the extremes. And I think that there is a place for society, the majority of people, to be like, hey, listen, we understand that there are these fringe interests or beliefs, but we as a collective majority have decided to ostracize these
Except they
people.
don't act on it.
Well, okay.
There's a list on the goddamn internet of every fucking sexual predator and their address and their fucking charges and their faces, and nobody does anything. So, like, I mean, this is what I heard when I would like rant about it on Twitter. Is people like, well, we should just kill those people. I'm serious, but the fact is,
We can't listen. Mark that. I can't post that.
I'm just saying.
I'm
okay,
with you. I'm with you.
the
Like, on a
reality-
person, I'm with you, but I can't post that. Go on a rampage and
Okay.
do society
No,
a favor.
I'm not
but,
saying, but okay. What I'm saying
let's take a
is
step back.
people take this stance of like, oh, we should just fucking kill him, but nobody actually does that. So what we end up is a bunch of pedophiles who aren't being killed and aren't being held accountable by the law and aren't being helped.
So what you're saying is like, okay, the thought process of people saying like punish these individuals
But I'm not
is
gonna
not
do it.
being executed, and no one seems to be jumping at the opportunity to
Correct.
execute on the punishment.
Correct.
So then
legally,
we need
they're
to
not
start.
legally they're not being charged in the way that they're not being held responsible in the way that it needs to be held responsible. Society is not stepping up and stopping the problem, and so all these kids are getting raped. So if our last answer is offering a fucking treatment program, I really can't believe why we're not doing that.
Do you think this is gonna be my
Even
last?
if it helped one of fucking 700 people.
This is gonna be my last question on this topic before
Okay.
we move on. Forgive me. Do you not think that the advancements of technology, the surveillance of everyday individuals, has helped in this endeavor?
I think they have every possible. I think they could stop it in a heartbeat, but they don't because they make too much money on. You know that child sex trafficking is like the #1
I know.
industry in America.
It's one of the reasons why I want the borders to be closed. because-
Instagram itself has like their algorithms. They can tell everything except they can't find the fucking pedophiles on Instagram. Yes, they can.
they can.
They literally create algorithms that bring pedophiles directly to a slew of fucking children who are vulnerable. It's so preventable and I mean, there's been proof that the CIA is leaking child porn on the dark web. It is 100% like if
Well,
if we're counting on
It's different. It's different to throw some bait out there to catch something.
yeah, but that's not what they're fucking doing.
Duly noted.
It's so much money. There's so much money in that industry.
When you say industry, do you mean what, like sex trafficking slash
Yes, and
human
child
trafficking?
porn. I'm not talking about like the industry that I was in where
Forgive me.
like everybody is we all know each other. We fucking test every 14 days. It's a very like exclusive industry.
Yeah.
People don't just wander into it. Like I'm not talking about like the porn industry in the sense of like it's very professional. Everything else, it's sex trafficking in general is the biggest industry that we have in the United States.
Human trafficking.
Human
but
trafficking.
To an extension,
Yes.
then.
Yes. And children are a big, huge part of that. But regardless, like, the government has a fucking part in that, and we all know that. Or at least they turn a blind eye.
Well, when you have an administration that for 4 years opened up the border to allow for certain things like this to happen,
Right.
I cannot argue with that argument.
I 100% agree. I also,
If you don't mind,
moving on from pedophiles?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
but I don't want you to think, forgive me, the reason I'm doing this is because I also want to kind of carry over
No,
the
it's good
conversation
because
to
I
different
could
topics.
fucking rant on this forever, and everybody knows that. So, let's move it along.
There are a couple of questions I have because right now I feel like the individual that I'm talking to is both someone trying to start something new, but also the person that they are is very reflective of their past, and both of these can live symbiotically.
Do you think so?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think it's. I could be like an optimist in this sense, but like I do believe that like for us to arrive at the moment that we are, and for us to, I like who I am, and that means all the things that I did that were stupid
Well, that
and
must
bad.
be nice.
I think there's a portion of you, there has to be.
With the likes who I am?
Yeah,
I like certain things about myself.
that's a portion of it.
Yeah, sure.
There's portions of me. Listen, there's portions of me I don't like. It's not as public as what you've done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, all my sins are public.
So that's what I'm trying to say is like that does not make me better or worse or whatever.
Right.
It just makes me more private, you more public. But I mean, I don't want to say that like I'm going through the same things that you're going through because I don't know what you're going through, right?
Well, I think that
I don't want to diminish whatever it is
I feel
that
like
you
realistically we're all going through the same things.
have. I think
in
everyone
different
has their
ways.
roller coaster.
Yes.
So I do believe that we are a culmination of everything that has happened to us and that we've arrived at this moment at the time that we have, both good and bad, to do either good or bad. Like perhaps today you want to do good. God bless. But maybe in 5 years from now, additional things happen to you and now you want to do bad. Like, okay, well then we need to prevent you from that.
Right.
So I'm not trying to say that like this is like, this is like a scapegoat for anybody to do whatever it is that they want to do. No, there is a bad path. Or at the very least, there's a bad destination.
Right.
And if I can change that destination, regardless if the path is wrong, similar to your story earlier about like how you did corn and you were able to purchase a home for your mother, that's like a nice thing that happened from a thing that some could
Consider
perceive as bad, right? So like I don't think one of my favorite symbols, what do you call something that's like one of the themes of this podcast is like the yin yang syndrome, a lot of black and white,
right?
Because there's good in the bad and there's bad in the good, and I don't think there's 100% even.
Shades of gray.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why the podcast studio has taken the shape it has, is because I do believe that even in the darkest of times, there's a bit of light. And even the most pristine picture, there's a blemish.
Right.
There's no such thing as like pure good and
like
bad.
the saying that the people with the most cracks have the most light shines. Or
I'm with that. I'm with that.
sometimes.
No, but I am.
Yeah.
There's always the exception, but I don't believe that makes the rule. So I guess what I'm trying to say is to your part of like I said that I like who I am with the blemishes and all, and you were like, well, that's nice. I don't believe you dislike who you are. I believe you may have disliked some of the things you've done, but I don't believe that you dislike who you are.
I respect things about who I am. I respect that I'm honest about the things that suck. Because most people aren't. And I'm honest. I respect about myself that I don't fucking cheat. That I don't even that I am so fucking loyal that it's disgusting. Like you couldn't be more loyal than me, and I'm so proud of that. Because when I was 14, I cheated on every goddamn buddy.
Is a part of the reason why you retired from a certain industry because you want to promote your discipline in monogamy now?
I think that it was absolutely impossible to have a relationship while in that industry. And I am a person who loves to be in relationships. And I tried to have plenty of them, and they were incredibly abusive and horrible. It's impossible. There are people who are in the industry who have relationships, and they say they're good, and I hope that that's true. But I have not been able to find that. Maybe it's because the type of man that I'm interested in is not the kind of one that wants to share his woman with a bunch of other men. But... I'm
going to get a lot of hate for this. Most men will not want to do that.
There are a couple, and they're weirdos, and they're like cucks who want to watch their women fuck other people, and that's not my type. And that's great for them. Like
different strokes for different folks.
Right, that's
Agreed.
fine. I'm happy for their wives because they get to fuck whoever they want. That's cool. But that's not my type. I don't want a man who wants me to fuck other people. So my type is very alpha, very fucking man. Very.
Well, I know your husband.
Yeah. And really even more so than that, like the guys that I dated before him, like spent half their lives in prison, and were like, I like a very specific type. And my current husband was like the lighter version of that. He was my step up. And still, my husband don't want to fucking share me with other men. And
but you've established that you wouldn't want to be shared. No,
well, I wouldn't respect him if he wanted to share me. I have been with men who shared me, but I can't respect them. I can't fucking respect that. Like, it is what it is.
For you, that stroke does not fit that folk.
Right. Now when it was necessary for me at some points in my life to do that job, even when I wanted to quit because there were people that I needed to support or help or whatever, that I was unwilling to, I was willing to sacrifice my own wants or needs for. And that money that career made me money. That afforded me the ability to help people. And as somebody who grew up fucking dead broke and then homeless and a drug addict, and I was never able to help fucking anybody, having money at the beginning seemed like the fucking best. Like I have given away more than 50% of everything I've ever made. And I fucking hate that now. But at the time, it was like I felt like I had the power to do something, to fucking help people. Turns out, money was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Making money if I could go back and never have fucking made that money that first day that I did Snapchat, I would fucking take it back.
Really?
And I don't regret much in my life, but I regret ever making money because when I was homeless, I knew who loved me. I knew who my friends were. And now it's always a fucking question. And maybe they do really love me for who I am, but I'll never fucking believe it.
Can I take a step back to
Yeah.
kind of unwind that onion?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you say that you wish you would have never, if you could go back and never have done the, by the way, I didn't do this, but cheers. Sorry, I was, you're a classy broad, you're drinking the wine, I am but a worm in the mud, I drink whiskey.
For everybody who has heard all my stories about being sober, by the way, I don't know, I drink wine now, fucking deal with it.
How long have you,
Okay, so
were you pushing
I
sobriety?
had-
Forgive me, I
Yeah,
feel like I'm enabling.
I don't care. No, I had relapsed, quote unquote, with my husband when I met him, because he drank and did like blow or whatever. And then he got sober. I got sober with him again. I stayed sober for maybe a year. And then he said something about, I don't care if you drink. And I was like, all right. Because to me, the difference between drinking wine and like shooting
Every
meth.
guy is going to watch this and be like, I need to be very careful when I say
Yes,
my
you
life.
do. Like, don't fucking give me liberties that you don't really want me to take. Like, fuck.
Well, I
be honest
think
about what you want.
moderation in all things
No,
are.
but also I think that a lot of it, even like when I had relapsed, quote unquote, with my husband, it made me a stronger person because I realized that like we were doing like coke and fucking drinking alcohol, and I had slammed meth and been homeless my whole life, and was like, oh, I can kind of control this, you know. And it was, and I'm not suggesting anybody that's an addict like go fucking try this, because don't. But for me, it was. I think it was a positive thing, honestly.
I actually have the opposite reaction to that. I've tried a lot of things once. There are things that I have not tried because I've heard of their addictive qualities. So like, never
Such as
tried
meth?
heroin. I've never tried meth.
That's a good
Very
idea.
fair.
Meth is
So
awesome.
perhaps I'm a bit of a hypocrite in this one, but like, you know, coke, Adderall, mushrooms.
Adderall and meth are pretty similar.
Dude, can I be honest with you?
Don't ever fucking
Out
do
of
it.
all of the things that I've ever done, the prescription drug Adderall
I believe it.
is like I've had to prevent myself from seeing a physician to try to get a.
Right.
I've thought about it. I have a buddy. His name. I'm not gonna say his name. Sorry. I have a buddy that I used to work with who has an Adderall prescription.
Right.
And there are times where I'm like, dude, I fucking wish I could get like a 10 milligram Vyvanse.
There are times
or
when I
something.
look at my fucking stepchild's fucking Adderall pills.
And you're
I'm
like, dude, I've been on that.
yeah. So I mean,
It's a super drug. It's a
very
super
close
drug.
to the same chemical composition as meth.
Yes.
And so
it's like one molecule off.
Yes.
By the way, 2 molecules away from morphine.
yeah.
And I've been on morphine once, and I'm not lying to you. The epidemic of opioid, I
Understand.
get
Yeah.
that.
I didn't.
I get that.
When I was shooting meth, I hung out with mostly junkies, so I shot at like a fair amount of heroin, like every day, probably for a few years, and I never like got anything from it. I was like, what the fuck are people dying for this shit for? And then like, I mean, I found out I have a heart condition that like my heart beats too fast, so I was probably just burning it off so fast that I'd never experienced like. So one time I had like an abscess on my back recently, and I had like they gave me fentanyl in the hospital, and I was like, oh, like now I see.
That's the same reaction I had.
Yeah.
They gave me oxycodone.
Yeah.
And I think I've told this story before, so forgive me, guys, if I have. But like, I took an oxy, and I took an 8-hour nap, and it was like during the height of my fighting career, and I didn't realize when they gave me morphine, I didn't realize how much I ached, like my joints, my back.
Until it fucking stops.
And then this nurse is like, and I remember, I'll never forget this because I was like, yo, nurse, whatever your name was. By the way, nurse, thank you so much. I was like, I feel amazing. What did you guys give me? They're like, well, you had a lot of pain, so we gave you morphine. I go, can I buy this? Like, can you guys give me a prescription for morphine? And she was like, she's laughing,
Yeah.
thinking I'm joking. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, for real though. Like, this is amazing. Like, I want to get on a regular like increment of
Yeah,
morphine.
yeah.
And she's like, no. Like, we can't prescribe morphine. Like, you have to be in the hospital for this. I go, what is the closest thing to morphine? Without skipping a beat, she was
Yeah.
like, heroin. I go,
Yeah.
I go, no fucking wonder there's a bunch of people just dying of heroin.
Yeah.
In one hospital visit, I got it.
Yeah.
They gave me oxy. I went home. I took that. The very first one I took like an 8-hour sleep. Not a nap, sleep. I immediately took that prescription. I tossed it down the toilet, which, by the way, you're not supposed to do with prescription medication because the drugs in the water supply. Sorry, guys, I didn't know at the time. So I tossed it.
You've ever gotten a lot of people high accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of people drinking tap water like, yo,
Yeah.
I feel great. But I did it. Listen, I like to think of myself as like a very, very mentally strong, disciplined individual. Oxy was the one thing that I took once, and I was like, I don't trust myself.
Listen,
I don't trust
I
myself.
was like, so when I was a teenager, like a young teenager, like 11, 12, I had an eating disorder. And that is like the absolute like epitome of self-control. I didn't eat. I fucking starved myself almost to death, right? That's fucking self-control. Then I found drugs, and it was like the ability to no longer fucking have control was so addicting to me, just to like let it fucking go. And that was the problem. It's like, I do have very good self-control. I have such good self-control that it drives me fucking nuts. And giving it up was the like most freeing thing I ever did. And so getting off drugs was so fucking hard for me, like trying to like regain self-control, which I fucking hate. Like I hate it. I don't even know how to like, I don't know how to describe that, but like giving up that control, it's kind of like, I hate to say it, but like dom sub relationships, you know, like they say like subs, like once they give up their power and they feel
It's
free.
freeing.
Yes, that's what drugs were to me, because I remember having a therapist when I was growing up who said she didn't think I would ever do drugs because I was too much of a control freak. And like,
Let me show you.
yeah.
Bitch, hold my beer.
Yeah, but it was like really for that reason. It's because I was so much of a control freak that like giving up like all the fucking say in my life was like so freeing and like relaxing to me that like, I mean, that was part of the addiction, was just like not having control and like fucking just like letting fucking go of everything. And so being sober for me is like, it's hard, dude. Like,
I think it's hard for everybody.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's why motivation and discipline are two different things.
People who have never experienced certain things, it's easier for them to never try them. Once you've had the best of everything, and this is corn included, so like the way that I see myself is that I've had the fucking best of every goddamn thing in life. I've had the fucking like way past the best. And now I have to like...
I disagree with that.
No, listen.
I think it's the perception of that.
I know, but now I have to like be okay with like this mediocrity. Like, and I hate to say that, it sounds fucked up, but like living like a normal life with like kids and a husband and like going to, you know, like whatever church, and like, it's like, and then I think about like how fucking like this my life was my whole life.
Yeah, but surely...
It's right, and it's better, and it feels good in a genuine way. But like, there's a part of me that is like, you know, but what the fuck?
Let me ask you this question.
But I want these like ridiculous fucking emotions.
But let me ask you this question. That's not sustainable.
No, absolutely not.
Peaks and valleys are not sustainable. What you call mediocrity, though, is like sustainability.
And it's like the best thing in the world.
Yes.
But, like, I spent my life doing this like severe up and down, and I'm bipolar, so it's like that plus like, so now I'm medicated and I'm like supposed to be like, I'm trying to like be as fucking as possible, and I'm like, but what the fuck? I think, you know, and it's hard. And so I think that people who have never, like, if you've never tried drugs, don't ever fucking try them. Because, like, trying to, like, not do them after you've done them is a lot harder than never doing them. Because
I don't know if I agree, man.
It's because you haven't done meth. Don't do meth.
That's a good point.
Really, it's really bad. It's like the fucking...
That's a good point.
Turns out for me, like, because I have a heart condition, it was the absolute worst thing I could have fucking done. And I can't believe that that's what I got addicted to. Like...
I want to go back to two things you've said, because I want to ask two separate questions. But let me ask this one before this one. So when you say the peaks and valleys and I had this certain life, we've both established that this was off the record, but I feel comfortable bringing this on the record. I was essentially saying that, like, you know, I was promiscuous in my younger years, but for me personally, the physical act of engaging in sex is not as profound and as enjoyable as engaging with someone that I love,
right?
That I genuinely have a connection with and I want to feel intimate with. So like, you could give me, you know, 100 different girls, but if I don't have a relationship with them, it's not going to feel as good as with this person that I chose.
I'm glad that we're segueing into this, because this is like, so women ask me all the time, every fucking day, pretty much, like, help me get into porn. Like, how do I fucking do an OnlyFans successfully? And then I'm like, fucking do not. And like, they don't, and I'm like, I don't know how
OnlyFans, porn, what do you mean
all
do not?
of it. Don't fucking
the industry in general.
Don't even fucking start, because the reality is, like, first of all women want to be loved. We all want a relationship. It is what it is. We can be as fucking feminist as we want. We want a fucking man that's gonna like be a man. It is what it is. Like, fight me on that all you want. Like, all women want that.
If they do, it's a demographic of women that men don't want.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. But the thing, like, so I didn't even like so when I quit porn, it took like a year and a half, maybe 2 years,
Forgive me. How long have you been retired?
at least 3 years.
3 years. Okay,
I've been my
just for
husband 3 years,
context.
so yeah. But like I still had an OnlyFans for a while after that, and they still feature danced for a while after that. So, but I've been like completely out of all of it for at least 2 years. And it took like a long time for me to like, I didn't realize that I'd been dissociated for like fucking 10 years in my life until I had quit for enough time that and then like I kind of like remembered who I was. It was really, my best friend died, and I like,
I'm sorry.
like it fucked up my head, and but it also like I remembered who the fuck I was, and it was like, how did I do all that shit? Like I can't fucking imagine doing the stuff that I did, like in corn and all this stuff. Like I can't even fucking. I hate selfies. I hate fucking if somebody caught me taking a selfie on myself, I would like fucking commit suicide. Like that's embarrassing to me.
We take a picture with every guest. Now I feel like I'm gonna take a picture by myself and be like,
I'm just saying.
"Thank you for coming on the
like
podcast."
this, like look at me bullshit was never me. Like when my ex-husband had like convinced me to like take pictures. The first time he made me take a picture in like a bikini with this fucking product, I cried. I was like, I felt so fucking violated and like humiliated, and like, dude, that's not who I was. But it was easy for me. Like I've been diagnosed with a million fucking things, and one of them being like dissociative identity disorder, which is like a PTSD response. Otherwise
PTSD.
Yeah,
Okay,
otherwise
sorry.
called fucking multiple personality disorder, which I don't like that. But I don't like that term. But I do know what dissociation is, because like the first fucking 16 years of my life when I'd have sex, I was like, I literally was watching it from the ceiling. Like I wasn't in my body. I felt like I was watching it from the ceiling. Like I was so dissociated from my body because of like the sexual trauma that I've had or whatever, that like I couldn't even physically engage in what was happening. And so
Did you do that as a coping mechanism, you think?
yeah, absolutely. I don't think it was like on purpose, but I think my brain automatically tried to protect me by creating two different people. And so I had like two very distinct personalities, at least maybe three, but like I'm gonna like at least two. Yeah, let's fucking start with my diagnoses. There's a lot of them. No, but it's really just a PTSD response at the end of the day. It's like your brain when you're a child, especially like when it can't deal with something, like it splits so that like it creates a stronger person that can deal with the shit that's happening, so that the weaker the child that you are can like exist, you know, and not fucking die. And so like I didn't even realize how long of my life that I had like kept this little child like in a fucking dungeon, you know. Like I don't know if I'm getting too far. I might have drinking too much wine, but
Forgive me.
Yeah, but this is the truth. Like I mean I really like, I felt like I had like taken this part of me that was so fucking vulnerable, and I just put it away because nobody had ever shown it love, you know, or cared for it or protected it, and I thought that was my job to do. And this new me that I had created to protect like little child me, I was really good at it, and I was tough as fuck, and like nothing could hurt me, and corn didn't get to my head, and nothing fucking I did until I quit, and I was like, wait, what the fuck, you know? Like I feel like the two like merged again, and I was like what have I been doing? Like, how did I even fucking do all that shit without, like, if I tried to do that now, I feel like I would have a fucking mental breakdown.
So before I ask these lines of questions, I want to ask for forgiveness, because I told you beforehand that there was like certain questions that I wanted to ask you. But now, based on where this conversation is going, I do have one question.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the disassociation, when you're talking about the need for protecting this version of you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what has caused you more trauma. Was it the physical act of shooting the scenes, or was it the repercussions of everything socially afterwards?
I don't even think it had anything to do with corn.
It's everything
think that-
afterwards.
No, I think it's before that. It was like, I was already like, I mean, my childhood doing drugs, being homeless, like all this stuff. Like I had to be this tough person. And like, and I was fucking super tough. I still am. Like, it's amazing to me that I can be in a life or death situation and feel fucking nothing. You know, it's not necessarily healthy, but like at the time it was necessary. Like being a 15-year-old that's homeless with it's like you have victim tattooed on your fucking forehead. Like everybody wants to hurt you. You know, and it was like, you had to be pretty fucking tough to deal with it. And a lot of this stuff was just like dissociating and letting stuff happen, because I knew if I fought it, like it would be worse, you know? And so I feel like that just bled into me being in the industry, and it was easy to be in the industry for me. It wasn't traumatic. It was like, some of it was actually cathartic and helped me. It was like I had been in child corn, like I said, when I was younger, and it was like being as an adult, it was like I was choosing to do those things, and it was like cathartic in some ways. It was therapeutic. And because I had control over it, I could fucking make it stop if I wanted to. And like there was something like
empowering.
Yeah, empowering about it, absolutely. And until it wasn't. Until it was a means to an end, that I needed the money, I needed all these things. I was trying to fucking help everybody goddamn in the world. And
the umbrella got wide.
Right, and sacrificing like the things that I said I would never do, I ended up doing because so and so needed help, and I needed to fucking pay for so and so's court dates, or like whatever it was, their lawyer, or my mom's house, or whatever it was, and I ended up doing all these things that I said I would never do because I knew that would be too much for me. Like psychologically, but I did them anyways because I felt like that was the only way that I knew, like, how to make money, or how to, like, it was the only time I'd ever been able to help anybody, was having money, like being poor, like you can care about people all you want, but you can't do fucking shit about it. You
can't act on it.
No, you can't do shit about it other than like love them. And that doesn't do that much. Turns out though, having money doesn't do that much either.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
And that's what parenting is. If I give my daughter $1 million, but I'm not a father,
yeah,
or if I'm a father that can't give her anything, both are equally as bad.
I think it'd be better to have a father that doesn't give her anything.
Well, tell people that are poor that.
And I was poor, and that's why we were talking about it in the bathroom. I'm like, I hope we get around to like the money thing, because like,
let's get back to that.
Yeah,
because
fucking
the other thing I was
making
gonna ask
money
you.
was the worst thing I ever got.
And I was going to ask you why you said that, because forgive me, a lot of women that will get into this will look at you and say, well, easy for you to say because you have already made the money.
Yeah.
You already have the lifestyle. You already have the, I don't know what it is that you own, what have you. So you have all of the positives that this lifestyle. I would give it all
back and be fucking homeless to know who cared about me. Because it's like every friend, every fucking boyfriend, every goddamn person you meet, you don't know if they really care about you or if they're just using you. And that doesn't, even if they were, like my husband, even, like, goddamn, even if he isn't using me and it was never about money, like, there's always in the back of my mind, like, what if it is? And when I was homeless, dude, I had no question about who loved me, because I had literally nothing to offer those people, and they loved me anyways.
I disagree wholeheartedly, and I'll tell you why.
Really?
Because when you're a 15-year-old woman, homeless, there was something you offered them that wasn't.
There were people, like the one that I told you that got clean. I never had sex with them. I never had sex.
It's not about. Forgive me. Let me take a step back, because this is. I haven't done this conversation a justice of the emotional toll it could possibly take on you. So let me apologize.
You're fine.
No. Let me apologize. It's not about you caring.
Bitch,
I know you are. I know you are, but I want to apologize. So I'm sorry. Because I'm taking a trip down memory lane, and you may have put all these things into place, and God bless, but I should still navigate these waters respectfully. So I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Even though you're a 15-year-old, girl with no money, let's say, there is still something that people could perceive as value that you could give to them.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think that any relationship is purely like, 50-50.
Selfless.
Yes.
Right.
I think that someone gets something from every one, whether it's a physical act, an emotional act, a spiritual act.
I believe I used the money. I didn't do it intentionally, but I mean, every time I would go out to eat with anybody, I would fucking pay no matter what. I would, like, secretly, I would make sure I paid for every goddamn meal I ever had.
What's the psychology behind that?
I guess I was buying friends. I didn't really realize that, but to me it was like, I have more money than them, so I should pay for it. And all of a sudden I had money, and I felt like I didn't deserve it, so I felt like it was like kind of community money. So I should fucking share it with everybody.
God bless.
Like whatever. Like I felt guilty about having money.
I would make the argument that you deserve it the most.
Well, okay, but like survivor guilt is a real thing. So
Very
even
fair.
just getting off the street when other people didn't, like that's why I moved all these homeless people into my house, like because I felt guilty about the fact that I got out and they didn't. And turns out like it's because they didn't give a shit they didn't want it. And I did. And that's how I ended up fucking off the street, and they didn't. And to me, it was like if anybody had offered me a fucking limb for a second, I would have taken it. And they didn't.
A limb?
a bone, a goddamn anything.
Oh, forgive
If
me,
anybody
like
had
some
tried to
sort of
me-
help.
right.
Sorry.
It was like I would have latched onto it in a heartbeat. I wanted to get clean 3 years before I ever did, and so it was like, for me, when I finally was able to, I thought that everybody felt that way, so I tried to like rescue goddamn everybody. And they didn't want to get clean. They were like, "Oh, a free place to stay and free food, and like they got to fuck me or whatever."
There are people that find themselves in certain circumstances outside of themselves,
Right, where all they can do is
you
take.
had no input in where the output designated you.
Right.
Then there are people where their output is directly correlated to their input, and you are trying to save people from the grave that they dug themselves.
Right.
And that's impossible.
I know. I mean, and it's hard because even now, like yesterday, actually, I saw some kid like fucking panhandling on the road, and he looked maybe
How old?
maybe 16. And I was like, dude, I wanted to pull over and fucking goddamn like, listen, bud, But it was like, what am I gonna fucking say? Like,
There's nothing you can.
I know, because I was that age and I was doing that shit, and nobody could have said anything to me. But I'm like, maybe because I have like face tattoos, like. Or like, I mean, like, should I try anyways, or should I just fucking not? Should I give them money? Like, I'm notorious for giving homeless people money, and my husband thinks that it's not right. Cause I'll buy them goddamn heroin. I'm like, whatever. Like, because I was homeless, like, I know what that's worth sometimes. Like, just a fucking little bit of goddamn like empathy, or somebody like helping you, even if it's fucking to get well when you're sick.
Can I say something
Yeah.
to you that really like it was literally 3 days ago. It's funny that you say this. Where I live, the ramp is under construction, so I have to go a street down, which is a slightly rougher neighborhood than where I live. Mm-hmm. Where I live is a lot more affluence, a lot more wealth. So like the street down, it's the city. So like 3 streets and you have a different tax bracket, right? So I go down the street to get back on the highway to get back to my house, and there's a guy there every fucking day. And for some reason I had some cash. So I gave him a 20. You know what I mean? I rolled down my window, I gave him the 20, and I'm like, hey, brother, here you go. You know what he said to me? He said, I've seen you drive down here 100 times and you haven't given money to me. What was it about today? That's what he said. And I'm going somewhere with this. And I was like, I had the cash on me. He goes, thank God. And I go, what do you mean? He's like, I thought you thought I was lesser than you. Or like, I didn't deserve it or something. Does that make sense? And I thought to myself, like, that was genuinely the reason. Like, I would drive by, I didn't have cash on me, so I was like, I didn't want to like roll down my window and tell him like, hey man, I don't got cash.
Sorry, I don't
yeah,
have
yeah,
cash.
yeah, because that's worse, right?
I almost did that on the way
So
here.
I was literally like, I had cash on me, and I was like, I've seen you 100 times. You're right, I have seen you a lot of times. Here you go. And his first inclination when he saw my car was like, this guy's not gonna give me money. And then when I rolled down my window to give him money, he was like, his first inclination wasn't like, oh, thank God he's giving me money. His first inclination was, what's different about this time? And I'm not going to lie to you. I do, and this guy did not change my perception. So I'm not trying to say like I'm like a changed individual. I do think that the majority of the homeless people are mentally ill and that we have to like do something as a society to help them.
Right.
That's the majority. The minority of the people that have like made bad decisions in their lives, don't have friends and family, so what have you. The majority are the latter where it's not their fault, right?
Right.
This individual, it made me think like, because after I gave him the 20 and after he said this thing to me, it kind of hit me and I took my ramp, I went back home, I'm playing with my daughter and I think to myself like, can I help this guy in any way? Like, is there a job I could offer him? Is there this? Is there that? And I never thought about this with anybody that has ever panhandled with me. Like, how can I employ this individual? Except for this one person. Because it wasn't like, God bless, thank you, the shit that you normally get. It was like, I've seen you 100 times. Yeah. What was different about this time? I was not ready for that question. And I was like, I just had cash on me this time. And he's like, oh, thank God. I was worried that you thought I was lesser than you. Yeah. This guy's homeless. And he's worried that I don't see him as a human. Yeah. And that fucking hit me, dude.
I remember being 15 and fucking homeless and people spitting on me. And like,
I wouldn't do that shit.
And
I would never do
remember
that
like
shit.
sitting in front of a fucking McDonald's, and I never panhandled because I goddamn like thought I was too good for it. And so I would like recycle cans, and like I lived in California, so you could like get money for recycling cans. And like I thought I was better than people that panhandled. But mostly it's because like I couldn't fucking stand the way that people looked at me. Like I was like the dirt on their shoes. Like on the bottom of their shoes. And I was like, and they don't even know that I'm 15 and like how easily this could be their fucking daughter, you know, or how easily it could be them or like, you know, and it like, but it broke my heart to see like how society actually is. And like, and now I'm like, you know, 10 years after being homeless and I'm like, fuck homeless people, like half the time, you know, and the other half the time I'm like, I want to give them money and I'll go buy them fucking heroin. And like, is that wrong or right? I don't know. But like at the time when I was homeless, it's like any little like slight act of kindness was like meant everything to me. Yeah. Dude, like buying me fucking drugs meant everything to me, you know? And it's like, maybe that wasn't the reason that I got clean or fucking, but I remember every kind thing anybody ever did for me, you know, even like smiling at me, you know, because people, they don't even look at you when you're homeless. They fucking specifically avoid eye contact because you're not a human being to them. And like I find myself doing that sometimes now because I don't want them to like look at me and think I'm going to give them money. And it's really because I don't have cash. Who the fuck carries cash anymore? You know? And I'm like,
duly noted.
I have hundreds on me for our tattoos and I'm not giving you a fucking $100, you know? But I feel bad. And so I don't look at them. And then I'm like, dude, I remember when people did that to me and I like how fucking, like, I didn't even feel like a human being. Like the like dehumanization, like that I felt like most of my life. That like I don't want to continue. I don't want to do to other people, and yet, you know, here I am because I've tried to save all of them. I tried to rescue them. I tried to help them. My best friend that I said that died. I had moved him into my home and put him in fucking rehab. I did everything to help this fucking person for 6 months. I lost 30 fucking pounds. He had done every goddamn thing you could do to a human being, you know, and I still tried to help him. He fucking robbed me, raped me, fucking. Held me like hostage in my own home for fucking 3 hours, you know, like, and I still tried to help him after that. And I put him in rehab and I spent like, I didn't have any money. I just left my husband and left him everything that I had. And I, you know, spent like $1,600 a month paying for this guy's fucking rehab and like whatever. And it was like, and he still just ended up going back. And, you know, and then like he fucking dies 7 years later. And I remember saying to people before I found out that he was dead, that like, fuck that dude, I don't care if he lives or dies. And like when I found out he was actually dead, I was like, dude, it fucked me up for a goddamn year and a half. Like I'm still fucked up about it.
You can't save people from themselves, but you can help people who want to save them from themselves. That's the tough part.
But here's the thing, it's
the
like
tough part.
As an addict, like I've heard people say that, but it's not even like if you want help, because there were years and years that I wanted help, but it still couldn't be helped. I wanted to fucking change, but I couldn't do it.
Because you weren't ready for it, or what?
I guess. And then at some point I was ready, you know, but it's like nobody really offered me. I wasn't offered the hand that I've offered other people, you know, but like if I was, I don't know that I would have fucking stopped, you know. It's like
taking that help.
Yeah, when I finally did, I got like disability from the state of California for being fucking mentally disabled or whatever. And, like, I ended up paying all that money back because I felt like shit about it. And I felt like I was using the system and I didn't want to do that. And they were like, you know, you don't have to pay this back, right? And I was like, I don't care. Like, let me do it, please. And so, but that was what got me off the street. And...
meaning the money that you were getting because
SSI,
of this...
Yeah, disabled, like, disability.
Allowed you to get off the street,
right.
And then
I got clean. I got clean within a week.
Some would say then that's the... I look at that as like a success story.
Right, and other people look at that as enabling, you know, except that I happened to get clean.
I don't look at that as enabling.
Because
I look at that as a success story.
My best friend who died, who I tried to rescue, he was getting disability the whole time and spending it all on heroin. So it's like, yeah, how do you know, like...
I will say that I am a little bit guilty of this because I like I said, I am socially liberal.
Right.
So I'm very laissez-faire. But when it comes to my finances, I'm like, fuck you, stop taxing me. Yeah. Because I see the outcome of this stuff.
Right.
Let me put it to you this way. It's not that I dislike my money going towards like helping people. It is the fact that I feel like it's not.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I saw an article that, I think Garrett told me about, my husband told me about, like they were spending like, I don't know, $8 billion and seeing if like Thamos could staff his thumb.
Exactly.
Like shit like that. Like what the fuck? Like I pay 40% of my income to the government so that they can like
put
fucking cocaine in a gerbil or whatever the fuck.
Or some sort of NIH funded research or this or that. And I think to myself, like, you know, not to get into inside baseball. And by the way, I don't make as much money as you did or do, or I don't know your
make
finances.
that much money anymore.
But let me put it this way. The amount of money that we paid in taxes last year, me and my wife, in just our W-2, not like our capital gains or whatever, was like enough to put the down payment on a home for like a $700,000 home.
Yeah.
And I looked at that number and I thought to myself, like, I should look at this number and think to myself, like, what good is coming from this?
Yeah, but it's nothing.
And
That's
then
the problem.
I instead of that, I feel, how was this mismanaged?
Yeah.
How was this misused? And then how could I have better used this money? If you were to give me back, if you were to take my tax dollars and give it back to me, how could I have
personally?
I would have allocated it better in the city of St. Louis
Yeah.
than they would have done federally. I guarantee you 10-1.
Right.
I guarantee you.
100%.
I would have. I could have signed checks $10,000 to 10 families and been like,
I understand
pay your
because
bills.
my taxes are fucking astronomical, and I'm like,
and it fucking hurts you.
yeah,
and it fucking
I
hurts
don't
you.
pay them quarterly, so I'm like at the end of the year, I'm like, like,
I would, dude. If I had that lump sum at the end of the year, I would too.
Well, and I don't ever have it. It's like, where do you think this money is? I don't have this shit.
Jesus Christ.
Anyways, I have to pee so bad.
Let's do it. Cheers again.
Cheers.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know this is fucking stupid.
I'm having a great time. I don't do anything anymore. I just like sit at home and read books and fucking drink wine, and like, I feel like I've like with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I feel like I've like reached whatever that is.
First of all, I want to thank you because I know how valuable your time is. And no, I'm being honest with this. I don't pay anybody to be on this podcast, so for them to give to
Don't tell them that, dude. You're paying me so much money to be here. I'm super important.
Stop! That's the first lie you've told. That's the first lie you've told. No, I take. You know, I look at that as like an immense amount of respect that people have given me, and like, you know, money is a certain thing, but like time is, you can't make more time, right? So thank you. You're giving me so much of it.
I'm happy to be around human beings, so it's good for me too.
Little does she know we're lizard people. No.
I am a fucking lizard. Dude.
Oh, stop.
My husband's like, he's like, I'm glad Cassie comes and picks you up. My like one friend here in like in Illinois, she's like, I'm glad she just comes and picks you up for no reason because all you do is fucking read.
That's good.
I know. I'm like, there's worse things I could be fucking doing, right? Than like reading like smutty romance novels, like whatever.
Well, I mean, I think reading in general. I think
reading is good, even if it's smutty. She knows. We be on the like smutty romance novels, dude. Reading has become a thing
you
again.
whore.
No, listen. So many women read now, and it's just because of these romance novels, and I love it.
They say that the pornography for women is usually literature because they can envision it, and where men are more like
visual.
Okay, we are physically visual. Yeah. Women are more the fantasy visual, where they're envisioning something in their own head as they're reading it.
Literally reading the best porn I've ever.
Well, that's hilarious that you say that, considering the line of work. I was like.
Corn.
Well, because here's the thing, right? A lot of times we usually correlate physical stimulation to like the most amount of dopamine that we can create in our brain. And it's interesting for you as a woman to say, hey, listen, I'm reading these novels and I'm getting stimulated in
way
ways.
More. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there is I think that sex, and I wanted to ask you this question. I think that sex has gotten a bad rep from the over commoditation of it and the over financialization of that industry.
And it's
totally
still directed towards men.
Yes, but it's still it's so fucking important. Right. Sex, intimacy, connection.
I think it's
with
at
your
least
spouse,
a third of your
with whatever.
Relationship. Yeah.
Yes, it's the bedrock of it.
For me, more like 50%, but like I think it's at least like a third.
Yes, I would. Let me ask you this: if you went up to a married couple and you said, like, "Are you guys happily married?" and they said yes or no, and then the very next question you ask them is like, "How often do you have sex?" I bet you they're correlated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If the man says, "I'm not happily married," and they're like, "We have sex once a year," and by the way, I know that women don't verbalize this, but they're just as sexual as men.
Yeah, but we just don't get the same stimulation because again, men get stimulated from visualization or porn or like whatever, and it's like women need like a whole mental aspect to it that men don't often provide, especially in a committed relationship. They're fucking over it. They're like, you're married to me, you gotta fuck me anyways. Like,
I disagree wholeheartedly. I would say
I'm really happy for your wife. But I think for the majority of women, it's like that's why we're hung up on romance novels.
The power of editing compels me. All right. So
you guys are lucky you didn't have to hear all of it.
what we were talking about was I was kind of alluding to earlier in this conversation. God damn it. God. What we were alluding to earlier in this conversation was the intimacy aspect when it comes to a physical act that you are doing, whatever that could be. Oral, anal, missionary, whatever. Everything under the umbrella. I do subscribe to the aspect of, okay, I've never said this to someone who's like more, this is going to sound very douchey. Never said this to someone more learned than I am.
Thank you.
I get more out of,
philosopher.
and it could be like an individual thing, but like when the occasion occurs to engage in intimacy, there is a lot that I get with my wife where it's like, I love you. I want you to enjoy this as much as I am. And I think that is directly correlated to a like healthy relationship.
Right.
And I think that some people sometimes think that, getting to that end goal can sometimes be, oh, okay, like I did it. We're married or we're this or we're that. And I said this off the record and now I'm going to say it on. There seems to be a correlation when you ask a married couple, like, are you happy in your relationship? Right. Are you happy in your marriage? And then the very second question you ask is,
how much do you have sex?
How often do you have sex?
Right.
And usually if they say they're unhappy with their marriage, it's correlated to the less physical action.
Right.
And then if they are happy in the relationship, it's usually more volume, right?
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, we were talking about the correlation between the physical act, the emotional impact, the financial impact. But for you as an individual now, you are married. To be, in that environment where you now are monogamous, you are dedicated to your husband, I can only attest for myself that the intimacy that I have now is far greater than any of the actions that I've ever taken beforehand.
Right.
And this is both like the most amount of respect that I can give my wife while also being disrespectful. Duly noted. So, I love you.
That's an important part of sex.
Well, this is what I was going to ask. Is essentially like, I know that when I came into my relationship, I was a little bit more experienced than my significant other.
Right.
For you, that could also be the case. I'm not 100% sure.
It usually is, yeah.
Has that altered anything? Has that affected anything? Or is that something that you've overcome? Or is that something you've had to have a conversation about?
I feel like we've had conversations about it. I'm also aware that like some of the stuff that I have become accustomed to or, given my previous line of work or whatever, like things that I expect or have grown to like are not necessarily normal or typical or something that a normal human being wants to do.
I don't know. If you ask a lot of people, like, you want to make lots of money, they'll say
they want to make lots of money, but they don't want to do this shit for free. Just in a marriage, I guess, depending on the person.
Ooh, that's okay. Okay, that's fair.
There are things that I would do for money that I don't really want to do for free.
Well, yeah.
And so I can give my husband that
Duly
same
noted.
like
Duly noted.
that same olive branch, that like, okay.
For an example, if someone wanted to peg me, my wife can't do that.
Really?
But
what the fuck? How selfish.
But there is a dollar amount. I'm just saying.
Every man has a dollar amount.
Listen,
for that,
everyone has a price. So Everyone has a price.
But you wouldn't want it to be your wife. Why? Because she wouldn't respect you afterwards?
I would only want my wife to peg me.
Really? If anybody did it.
No one else is.
Yeah.
By the way.
Okay, but don't let her, because realistically, women want to do that shit, but like, we don't respect you after.
No, I think there are, like, that's actually like the psychology of like what you can get away with, right? Do you think that like some of the feminine quality is like kind of rebelliousness towards a man?
Yes, but we want you to
set the standard.
Yes, we want you to revoke our authority.
No, bitch.
Yeah,
this is not what you're doing.
That is what we want, because I have.
And I mean, bitch, in the most respectful way.
Yes, I have done that like very firmly. I'm like thought that's what I wanted, and then when they acquiesced, I was no longer interested.
You're like, oh, I got what I wanted.
And like I shove shit up your ass. Like I I don't know.
I was joking.
I know. I'm like, I don't really respect you the same. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Look in
but
the
I
mirror
think
afterwards,
women-
like, was it worth it?
Yeah, no, I think that women, like, as a whole, even with this feminist movement and all this stuff, even these feminists, like, deep down, they want a man to, like, fucking dominate them. And dominate in a, like, I feel like that's been so skewed with, like, the media. Even, like, 50 Shades of Grey has, like, bastardized what, like, dominance is. That dude was abusive and fucking mentally ill. Like, and so people who take that story as, like, a directional for, like, BDSM relationships are doomed to fail. You know, that guy was, like, an insecure fucking control freak. Like, oh, you're hanging out with your other friends. Same thing with, like, Twilight. Like, you know, women use that as, like, there've been
Listen,
studies.
I pull the cord at sparkly men.
Yes,
right?
that dude, like,
That's-
that dude took his wife's, like, spark plugs out of her car so she couldn't go see her fucking guy friend. Like, too far. You know, but my point is, like, women, we do want, like, we push buttons, but we do it to, like, I believe we do it for the men to, like, assert their dominance, but it's a certain kind of dominance. It's not this, like, fake, like, alpha male. Like we were talking about before we started this podcast, like, anybody who says they're a fucking alpha male ain't an alpha male, right? But, like, there's a certain amount of, like, confidence or it's confidence, not arrogance, I guess what it is. That, like, we want, and so we push to find it, and we want men to, like, push back, and we want them to put us in our place. And even the biggest fucking feminists, they're lying, but they want you to do that. They want a man to fucking put them in their place.
Well, I'm curious to see what you would say about this. So, like, I will fully subscribe that there are a lot of men groups that I want to be careful how I say this.
You go to men groups?
No, I don't go to men groups, but they exist. Like the red pill community, the black pill community.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Everybody from Andrew Tate to the women haters, right?
Right.
Now, a lot of the core, if you were to do a Venn diagram of all these groups, like kind of like where they all kind of correlate, is that a man should lead in all these other things.
Right.
And call me old-fashioned, I do believe in that.
I do too.
But I also think that there is ground to be gained with the liberation of women. But as I feel like these masculine movements are setting men back
Right.
by kind of telling them what's not true, I feel like, and I'm going to get a lot of pushback from this, I hope not from you, but I feel like the feminism movement has generally lied to women. I think that there
Absolutely.
is ground to gain, but I don't think the liberation in the exact same paradigm that men have will actually lead to happiness in women.
Men and women are not the same.
Well, we like responsibility and duty
Right.
and all these other
Well,
things.
women want the idea that they can do everything that a man can do, but I don't want to fucking do it. Like, I don't want to goddamn take out the trash. That's a man's job.
You want to live in a world where you could,
I
if
like
you
the
had
idea
to,
that
or
I
if you
could
wanted
take out
to.
the trash, but I don't want to fucking take out the trash. I don't want to go to work. I mean, I don't want to go to war. I don't want to do any of this shit. I want to, like, if I could be a stay-at-home fucking, not even mother. I just want to be, like, a stay-at-home lady.
No.
Just a stay-at-home wife where I can just hang out and my husband, like, works and, like, pays all the bills and, like, I can, like, I don't know, do laundry and, like, not have any responsibility. That sounds great to me. But I love the idea that I can work. And so, like, I feel like the feminist movement has become, it went from, like, being equal to men to being better than men. And that men are trash and we hate all men and men are all rapists and blah, blah, blah. And I have gotten attacked from feminists more than anyone else on the internet.
Really?
Like Twitter, oh my gosh, they came after me one time because I posted literally, and I quote, "Can we stop hating men, please?" And
They said no.
I got so much
said
fucking
no.
shit. Oh yeah, I got so much shit. It got reposted by like some fucking famous like feminist account, and like I have never been like had women like telling me they wish I get raped and like all this shit, and I was like, wow, very feminist of you. But yeah, no, I think that like the feminist
You know what I've
movement,
never told another man? You want to know what's never come out of my
women
lips?
are fucking cruel and awful. But like the other, like, I mean, I don't know. It's funny because like these same women who are feminist and they say, because I'm technically, I would be considered a feminist, but like the real actual definition of one, not like whatever new age like notion of what feminism is, which is actually like fuck men and I want to like be a man.
Can we dissect that?
Yeah,
so like
absolutely.
first age feminists were basically the proliferators of trying to reach true equality.
Right.
Because under first wave feminism, you did not have
Even the right to
the
vote
same
or-
rights as
Correct.
men. And mind you, historically, you guys can look this up. This is the truth. The original first wave feminism movement also had a lot of pushback from women because a lot of the things that they were wanting came with responsibilities, specifically the right to vote. The right to vote was afforded to men under the purview of the draft, meaning if we ever engaged in a sort of, intercontinental battle where we'd have to go to war
Right.
and we didn't have the necessary manpower involved, we could draft the populace into doing that.
Women don't want to fucking be drafted. They want equality, but not really.
Well, here's the thing. If you ask
I don't
any,
want to fucking be drafted.
but if you ask any real man,
Right.
they don't want their women to be drafted either.
Right.
This is where I think toxic masculinity is actually good.
Toxic
Like, I don't want my daughter going to war. I don't want my wife
The
going to war.
actual definition of toxic masculinity is the lack of masculinity.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
I mean, that's what I believe. I believe that toxic masculinity is a fucking joke, but the real toxicity in masculinity is the lack of it. These feminist men who fucking, dude, they're the real threat to women. Actual masculine men who protect their women and like fight for them and do their manly duties and run their household and all this stuff. Like, nobody hates those men. Their women are fucking happy. It's the women whose like men are fucking like, it was like during BLM and like these like white men with like fucking
blue hair.
yeah, and they're like little man buns were like
I do like a man
face
bun.
out,
I do like a man bun.
face down, ass up in the street, like fucking apologizing to black dudes because their fucking grandparents owned slaves. Like, nobody respects you. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not gonna fucking apologize for some shit I didn't do. Like,
Face up.
I'm sorry. That's what they were literally bowing down in the street. I'm like, I will fucking get on my knees for my husband and Jesus, and that's the fucking
God bless the way it
that's the
should
goddamn
be.
extent. But no fucking woman respects them. These feminists, like, they act like that's what they want. They don't fucking want that. That's why they like end up with women, with other women, because they're like, I can't respect feminist men. Or I'm sorry.
I that's why I said earlier in this conversation, like, I don't mean to white knight. There is a part of me that feels like it is my duty as a man to protect and foster women, because that's how I was raised. Like, when
Right.
I was raised, my mother was like, hey, listen, you hold the door for your lady.
Right.
You treat her with the utmost respect and dignity. You don't disrespect her.
Right.
You don't argue with her. Like,
that's
these are things
actual-
you do in the back.
It's
You know what I
actual
mean?
masculinity.
And then my father would also teach me like the man side of that. It was like, hey, you have to assert dominance in the sense of not making her do something, but providing the leadership that would make her want to follow you.
Right.
These are two different things. If I have to
Absolutely.
tell my wife to do something, I
You're
have
doing
failed.
something wrong.
I failed as a man.
Right.
The way it should work is I lead by example, and then my wife follows me because she's like, hey, this is the guy that like I can see that.
Right.
light
Well, a
at the end
man
of the
who's
tunnel.
paying the bills, going to work, doing all this stuff, providing for his family, taking care of his children, doing whatever for us, making his wife his first priority. That woman wants to fucking do laundry.
Yes.
She does. She wants to fucking do all those things and care for the kids and do.
But
It's genetic. It's intrinsic. We've gone so far from that it's become this like toxic thing because men who don't do fucking shit expect their women to do all these like the women's work.
This is where I was going to get to, but I'm
Right.
going to go through a long bout. But here's the thing I'm going to also say to that point. I don't think it's ever been harder to do the things as a man that you've said. I don't think it's ever
never
been
been-
harder
yeah.
for a man to like really hold down the fort.
Absolutely.
So like I'll tell you this.
because it's hard. You can't have a one family income anymore. It's
You
very
you can.
difficult.
You
Depending
can.
on where you live.
You can if the man is. You can if the man
If you
is.
don't live in LA
Let me put it this
or
way.
fucking New York,
If your husband was making $1 million a year,
you still could barely live in California.
well, that's fair. That's not fucking. You're not inaccurate. Rust Belt, St. Louis, God bless.
Yeah.
Where prices still seem somewhat honest. If you make $1 million a year, you can then tell your wife, like, "Hey, listen, I'm holding down the fort. I'm doing all these other things. Can you please make this home into a castle?
Right.
Make this a sanctuary for both you and I,
And
for
the
the
children,
kids.
right?
God bless."
Yeah.
Like, that's not, I hated this thing of like, because my wife she's a very successful woman outside of me. She's an engineer. She's crushing it.
That's awesome.
She chose me.
Right.
She did not need me.
Right.
Which also then subsequently makes me work harder because I'm like, she doesn't need me. At any moment, if she did not have me, she'd be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? kind of makes me.
I
up
like that
my
you take
game.
it that way.
Dude, it made me a better man.
Right.
There was a moment in time, I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, but I'll say it now. There was a moment in time where she made more than me. And she came to me and she was like, I want you to know that we're a team. That like, this does not make me think less of you. And there is nothing she could have said in that conversation that would have hit my brain. The whole
Because you
time.
needed to make more than
No, I agree with the team. I agree with the team. I
Yes.
agree with all these other things. But if I'm going to request from her to bear my children, to change her body, to take on all these responsibilities, all this other stuff, the fuck do you mean?
You better be goddamn fucking providing. Yes.
It doesn't even mean that I have to make more, but
you have to be able to provide.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing, is that like men still expect women to do the women's work, but then they also want them to get a job and make the same amount of money as them. And so we're supposed to work a full-time job and then also come home, raise the kids, fucking do all the dishes, do all the laundry, do all these fucking goddamn chores.
It's
And,
unrealistic.
Like, it's unrealistic, and no wonder women are like flocking to like this ugly version of feminism. And I'm not surprised, because I get it. Because like when if I'm expected to work, like support my fucking household, plus like raise all the kids, fucking homeschool, goddamn, like make lunches for everybody, clean, cook, like, dude, it's too goddamn much. Nobody can do that.
Yeah.
And so it was easier in 50 years ago when mortgages were like fucking $20 a month or whatever the fuck they were, and like people made less, but it was possible for a single parent to like afford a household. Now you have to be pretty wealthy to be able to do that with like one income. However, like depending on where you live.
Upper class.
However, to expect your wife to do all the housework and also work a full-time job while you only work a full-time job is completely asinine. And to expect her to respect you in that situation, I think is...
Well, let me add a little nuance. Perhaps you'll agree with me or perhaps you won't. I think what happens is...
Y'all need to do the dishes sometimes?
Fair. No, you're not wrong. I'm going to tell you my paradigm. You'll tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Okay.
So there are things that I do. My own laundry. My wife doesn't do my laundry. You want to know why? She makes 6 figures.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking doing anybody. I'm not doing anybody else's laundry. You want to know what I appreciate? She does my daughter's laundry.
Yeah.
I have never once... I don't know if it's because I do laundry like really badly. Like I just throw everything into one
She's never given you the opportunity.
Yeah. Like she saw me do laundry
I let
once.
my husband do my laundry one time and I was like, never again.
Dude, I saw my wife see me do laundry.
I was trying to find my shorts for like 3 weeks.
I have never seen my wife more unattracted to me than when she was watching me do laundry. She's like, did you just throw your whites and colors in? I was like, baby, just fucking pop.
Yeah,
pop.
but what
There
bad
you
has
go.
happened from
Do
doing
I
this?
smell good? All right, then. Let me put it this way. There are things that I expect from my wife that I think are adequate based on our input into the household. And this is the thing that I think is missing. So, like, I am for empowerment of women. I really am. I have a daughter, and I want her to have every opportunity that I have, even though I know, like, fundamentally she might not resonate with the same things that I do. I want her to have a man when she's older that is, like, masculine and proper and disciplined and responsible. Not even takes care of her, takes care of himself and his responsibilities. It has never been harder than today for men to be men. I do believe this.
I agree.
Both.
Especially when they're raised being fucking raped. And they don't even know that they're men.
I mean, it's like you tell people, you tell men it's wrong to be masculine. You make it.
Our whole generation has not been raised to be men. They've been raised to be toxic.
I think they've been raised to be victims.
Yes, absolutely. And in so being toxic. Like I've noticed that the more emasculated a man is with me, the more fucking abusive they are. So I go out of my way to
because
try
they
to
lash out.
Yeah,
they're angry internally.
Men intrinsically want to be men. And like, okay, so like me, for example, I'm really good at shit. I'm really fucking, dude, I can do everything. Because I was homeless and I never had help and I learned how to like I'm really good at figuring shit out. I can come up with a solution to anything. I can change a tire. I can do all these goddamn things. And I've been like in relationships with men and I have to literally pretend I can't change the goddamn tire because I don't want to emasculate them. I'm like, oh, let's just call AAA because like neither of us know how to do this.
I'm going to say something very douchey. To be able to do something and then choose not to do it because he can, that's not demasculating or emasculating. That's allowing him to be a man. But
Right, but if he doesn't take
but
the
if-
opportunity to learn
but
how
if
to
he
change-
himself doesn't
change a
know how to
goddamn
do
tire,
it,
right.
yeah, then that's emasculating.
Right, but that's on
you-
him.
am I wrong?
But also they're raised that way because like our generation of parents were all like our moms and dads were both working, right? Like you're 32, I'm 32. Both my parents had to fucking work to provide us a household.
Same.
Who was supposed to teach my brothers how to change a goddamn tire? Like when was
Your father.
Yeah, I know, but when? Because he was.
When he's not working.
I mean, I agree. My father.
I'm sorry.
Sucked.
This is where I put.
No, I mean, I agree.
If you want to have children,
but there is,
you take on that responsibility.
At least half of our generation was not taught how to do those things. And so, but even still, this goddamn YouTube, I learned how to do a lot of things from goddamn YouTube because I didn't have a man to do the shit for me. So I figured out how to do it. And now I'm like, dude, I'm so good at doing stuff that like I have to pretend I'm not to like make a man feel like a man. And that's embarrassing.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree that I should have to do that.
Well, here's the thing. You can be, okay. There are things that I do for my wife that she could easily do.
Right.
And there are things that she does for me that I could easily do.
Right.
But it's not a reflection of like emasculating me or me like, taking away from her femininity for me doing this. It's what I do when I feel the urge to do it because I love her.
Right.
So like sometimes I'll cook. Or if I don't feel like cooking, I won't tell her to cook. I'll be like,
I feel like men should cook.
Well, all
Men
men
are
should,
actually better cooks.
well, men should know how. Okay, knowing how to do something and choosing not to do it is vastly different
Right.
from not knowing how to
Okay,
do
but
it.
there are certain things that men should, like women should not take out trash. I'm sorry, that is a man's job.
What
I
if-
don't want to fucking take out the trash.
What if my wife argued with me and said, "I want to take out the trash"?
Then she should take out the trash if
Okay,
she really wants
but then,
to do that.
but then am I less of a man because of it?
No, but automatically, if it's not discussed, I think it's a man's job.
I think it's to be discussed.
I don't want to touch trash. I'm a fucking woman. I'm
You.
supposed to be a lady.
You.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to play with the trash.
What if my wife
I
didn't want to
spent
clean the
half my
house?
goddamn life playing with trash. I don't want to play with it now.
I guess what I'm trying to do
I make
is
6 figures,
Well,
7
well-
figures. I don't want to take out the goddamn trash. I'm just saying. Yes, if your wife specifically was very...
seven.
No,
Seven?
I don't know what I make. Goddamn,
seven?
It's less than fucking...
Yo, I'm gonna have to
it's low
take this
now.
tie off.
No,
7?
listen, it's low now. It's low.
7?
At some point, yeah.
Let me. 7?
I think I made like 200 grand this year, okay?
Woo! 7?
And that was the lowest I made since I was like 19. But before that, I was homeless. So it's like, yeah, I've had these two extremes.
You know what I was thinking when I was 19? Fucking dick.
Yeah, listen, I worked 90 hours a week for my ex-husband and made goddamn like fucking 30 grand a year. And then also at night made fucking $3,500 a day. Like, so I was like working this fucking making an obscene amount of money at night, but like still having to go to work at this like fucking shop because when I finally quit, he called me disloyal. And I'm like, he had broke his fucking back and I had to like take off work to take care of him and change his fucking socks. And he called me disloyal for quitting my job. And I was like, okay, dude, whatever.
Let me ask you this actually. When is it acceptable for a man? I want to be careful. Forgive me. I want to word this properly. Let me word it through a little bit of anecdotal.
Okay.
When I was young, my father was unemployed for a time, and my mom held down that fort. Like my dad was like during 2008 housing crisis, lost his job, lost his business.
Right.
For 9 months to 15 months, man, if he brought home $10,000 that year, I'd be surprised, right? But my mom held that shit down. And then vice versa, when my mom was sick terminally with cancer, my dad was there.
Right.
So like I saw, even though we were poor, I had a really good example of like what it means to be married.
Right.
It wasn't, dude, rest in peace. I want to be very careful how I say this is about my mom.
Right.
I'm sure there were years where my parents did not engage in physical activity.
Right.
Yet I saw them take the responsibility that they signed up for very fucking seriously.
Right.
We have kind of tiptoed around relationships and boundaries and responsibilities, but I'd like to understand from you, like, what do you think is acceptable and not acceptable? When has it crossed that boundary of like, what you're asking of me is too much?
I feel like everybody has decided they don't want their responsibilities in our day and age. Women don't want to do women's work. Men don't want to do men's work. So nobody does any work and relationships don't work out. And then everybody's gay. Because, like, they'll find a woman who will work harder than a man, and men will find a man who will do housework better than a goddamn woman. But
I only disagree with the last portion. But
couldn't find a
outside
man
of
that
that,
do your
outside of that, you're not fucking wrong.
no, but I think
I see a lot of men that don't own up to their masculinity,
Right.
and I see a lot of women that talk like men, and
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, no
Well,
wonder you're not with a dude.
I've been that man like my whole life. Like I believe I'd be a better husband than most fucking men because I'm like better at being a man than most men, and that's pathetic. Like a lot of that is because like I was never given. There was nobody to support me my whole life. My dad didn't support me. I was homeless. There weren't fucking men supporting me when I was homeless. I learned how to do every goddamn thing myself.
You've been forced to it.
I learned how to make money. I learned how to pay bills. I learned how to fucking build furniture. I learned how to fucking take care of cars. I learned how to change brakes. And then I find a guy who like can't do any of that shit. You know what I mean? Because like his life was different than mine.
Well,
and
here's what I'm gonna say. That's acceptable.
Yes.
If he can outsource it.
if he's gonna goddamn do the dishes, that's
No, if he can outsource it.
or do the dishes.
If-
But to expect me to change the tires and do the dishes is
Yeah,
obscene.
it's excessive.
I'm not going to do the men's work and the women's work.
Do you know
I
what
have done that, but I'm not interested in that, and that makes me not respect the man that I'm with. What are you doing? What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
I feel like this is acceptable.
We're gonna edit that last portion out.
No, I feel like this is fair.
Well, I have to edit it now because I said it.
No, we just edit the part where we're talking about editing
Listen,
it.
we gotta put an end to this and let's just have fucking dinner. So
Okay.
we can have a real fucking conversation.
But this shit is true, though.
I think. Can I give you a couple of compliments? I don't think I've
Always. You can give me as many
Yeah,
compliments as you want.
I'm not trying to sound like I had an idea of what this episode was going to be before we had it. And I had an idea of the questions that I was going to ask you, where I wanted to cater it to. By all means.
Didn't get to any of them. They never do, Arian.
But I've lost track of time, which indicates that I've had an immense amount of. I said this. The reason I started this podcast is because I truly enjoy having conversations with people. And whenever I can do like a 3, 4, 5 hour conversation, I'm just
Right.
like, what time is it?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Right.
You asked questions today that truly stumped me and kind of changed. You've changed some of my preconceived notions. You've strengthened some others, which is nice.
I'm glad.
But you've also forced me to kind of like look a little bit inward. And there were some things that I thought beforehand. And, you know, whenever you talk to someone that has firsthand account, firsthand knowledge, and has experience in the field, it's like, well, I have to take your word
I hope
for
you're
it.
talking about pedophiles, but
Yes.
go on.
Yes.
Okay.
I also want to say that out of all the guests that I've ever had, you're definitely the most established, prolific, whatever it is that you want to use to say this.
Honest.
So for you to spend the time that you have with me, I don't say this often. Like, really, thank you. You could have been doing anything else with your evening, but you decided to be here
Reading
with me.
smut, probably, but
You too?
oh yeah, I'll get that done later tonight.
Alicia, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
This
no,
was a
I'm
joy.
happy. I'm happy too. I'm glad when I get to talk about something other than like 2 dicks in the ass.
I'm going to have to do so much editing on this video. It's so hard because
Or
like
not, you
No,
know,
no, no.
or you could like just like
not edit you. I'm gonna have to take every time we said porn, including this time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put porn.
just
You know
put
what I
a
mean?
fucking emoji.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just my face is a corn
I
cob.
feel like on YouTube we should be allowed to discuss something when we're not like we're not being graphic. We're discussing
look
whether
at this. Look at this innocent woman that has
I'm just
never been on
saying-
YouTube.
I'm just saying we should be able to discuss the pros and cons of something that's affecting the majority of the world. I don't think that obviously YouTube does whatever the fuck it wants, but I believe that it should be freedom of speech to discuss, and we're not like going into graphic detail about like what somebody likes or doesn't like sexually. We're talking about whether or not it affects society in a positive or negative way. And if YouTube has a problem with that, hey, you'll let there be like goddamn child porn on YouTube, but like not let us talk about it. Like, okay,
Good fucking point.
that's what I'm saying.
Before I put a close to this, Was there something that you wanted to either say or make?
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Not fucking lie. And jet fuel cannot melt steel beams.
Yeah, and how the fuck did we forget about all this in like 1 year?
Or the fact that, like, dude, don't get me started. Don't get me started. The fact that, like, you know, if Obama would have been shot in the fucking ear, we would have never heard the end of it until now. Yet because it was an orange man, we still have no fucking knowledge whatsoever. And here's the thing about this. It's like neither red nor blue. A political candidate for president 2 months out of the election was shot in the fucking head, and we all brush that shit under the table, regardless how you feel. By the way, if it was Kamala, I would be equally as like, what the fuck? What the fuck? There are a lot of things. Next time you're on, let's start with Epstein.
I'll fucking talk about Epstein all goddamn day.
Well, it's you know, pedophilia.
Yeah, let me talk about fucking Epstein, goddamn.
Alicia,
let me just tell you really quickly.
Go ahead.
When Epstein, that whole thing came out, I bought a fucking... I was living in California, and I bought a fucking AR-15. And I told you, I've been on, like, state disability. So I don't know how the fuck they approved me for it. But I got a goddamn fucking...
Allegedly, an AR-15 was purchased, allegedly with government funds. Allegedly.
I was honest, and they goddamn gave it to me. So, like, fuck off. But... I thought we were all the whole nation was going to war, and then nobody gave a shit. And then BLM happened a week later. Yeah.
With Epstein?
And then a week later, BLM happened, and then like everybody was in the goddamn streets, and I was like, really? This is why we're fucking revolting. And I love black people. I hope, like, fuck racism, but like, really, that's what we're revolting over? Like, nothing, whatever.
Can I say this?
A bunch of children being raped, like, seems like a fucking bigger deal.
Well, can I say this? And I'm curious to see if you would agree or disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I think where Epstein is one pillar of control, Diddy was the other.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure there's a third.
Yeah, but we've never goddamn seen anybody get arrested for it other than them.
Well, you know the fact
Why did like Max...
The fact that Diddy's still alive is actually like kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, but Epstein's wife, like the fact that like...
Ghislaine?
Yeah.
Ghislaine?
Ghislaine. That's how you say it, Ghislaine.
Ghislaine.
I looked that up. Yeah, but none of her fucking whole trial was redacted. We didn't get to see a goddamn fucking word in it.
No, yeah.
And like nobody was arrested.
John Doe, Jane Doe.
Oh yeah, everybody's non-existent.
The fact that she's still alive means she's gonna get out and she'll be fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. I happen to believe that Epstein's alive, but I'm also like a little bit of a...
No, I think he's dead. I know a guy...
Listen, there's pictures of him, like his corpse and his ear. Like, look at his goddamn ear and then look at his real ear. I'm just saying. How does your ear change that much? Did he have ear surgery? Or am I...
I don't know.
Am I insane?
We're both
I don't
speculating.
know.
We're both speculating. All I know is based on people that have told me that are like in like private security / like
that he is actually
higher
dead.
up. It's he was like the low hanging fruit.
Right.
And that they actually think the reason why they won't off Diddy in the same way, two-prong, was because Epstein got caught. So like it's kind of like this like, you know, trail that you're leaving, and more importantly,
Diddy's a higher hanging fruit.
No. Diddy's the lower hanging fruit.
Right, I would think
because
so.
Epstein was the Diddy for aristocrats,
right,
for politicians, for world leaders.
And Diddy's
where
the Diddy for...
was football players and rappers and
right,
whatever.
Black people. It is what it is.
Alicia, listen, all I know is Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, but our country still thinks of the low hanging fruit.